have many chances, to make mistakes. If you lose a series in here, you may be saying goodbye. So you have to give it all.
Yeah, definitely. Now, RixGG did win the first game, sure, but Team Queso, this is their first game, and they're up against RixGG, right? So it's a really tough matchup, and if they lose this one, it's all or nothing in the next one. So this is going to be a banger game between these two, because both of them really, really want to win the game.
If Team Queso lose this game, Darkbreaker, I mean, I can feel Nasser smelling the blood.
It's gonna be pretty exciting to see how. I mean, I feel like RixGG, now that they already won one match, they're a little bit more comfortable because they know, okay, even if we lose, we secured the spot basically to the playoffs already. But Team Queso, they're playing against Juggernaut, and they really have to prove themselves that they can compete with the top teams and even beat RixGG.
Even beat RixGG, that's it. The super team you all been talking about. How RixGG said they are even beyond game lore. I mean, I have a lot of expectations in this match, but talking about Team Queso playing around the jungle, RixGG being so versatile, what do you think, Stuart, that is going to be the action, main focus of the action?
I think even mid lane as well. Mid lane could be a very, very big action. As Darkbreaker said already, Veils likes to play these aggressive assassins. We've seen him on the Kali before as well. Snitch, you saw him bring out the Singed. The Yasuo in the first game, even though we thought that maybe potentially they were going to play around Snitch, it wasn't really him that was really carrying a lot. But then in the second game on the Singed, it just shows that he has such a wide champion pool as well. And Veils, we haven't really seen too much else from him. Akali, he feels a little bit comfortable on, but other champions, he's not really the best. So we'll have to see. The mid lane matchup, I think, is a big thing, but I think it's just across the board. You can talk about any matchup as well, and it's so difficult to pinpoint, I think, one matchup in this series that's going to be the main focus.
I think it's like not necessarily just mid lane, but like the jungle mid support synergy, because Clue loves to roam, obviously, and Methonaut on that Alistar, like one of his signature picks. Like those two love to roam, and I feel like rotation-wise, when it comes down to the fightings, I feel like it's gonna happen in the river. Fighting for objectives, fighting for the Rift Scuttle, maybe. I know it's not that important anymore, but it can kind of dictate the tempo a little bit. And obviously, before any objectives, you wanna set up vision, you wanna trap people, you wanna catch them, or you rotate quicker than the others and catch people with a gank in the mid lane or in the top lane even. So we will see.
Yeah, absolutely. I expect a lot of action, and we're watching right now Hell's RixGG chilling in the couch, It's obvious that they are not affected at all by playing a LAN, and Team Queso has a lot of experience, a lot of background when it comes to this kind of events as well. So do you think that there's maybe a possibility that maybe the LAN event affects Team Queso?
Well, I know the LAN event affected RixGG the last time, because they lost against Team Queso in the finals, right? So this time, you can clearly see RixGG is playing really well. They did play against Nasser, though. Nasser was a bit of an easy opponent for RixGG, but now we're truly going to see whether it affects RixGG or not. As I said, if there is a team that takes the game from RixGG, it is going to be Team Queso, because we saw last time as well. They played incredibly well during the live event. They have a lot of experience, but I feel RixGG is going to be better than last time this time.
Yes, this is one of the top matches that we can expect when it comes to the EMEA region in Wild Rift. So this is high quality. This is a high quality game. I would, be so sad to see a quick game. I want it to be, slow, to have a lot of kills, back and forth between these two teams. Do we have this possibility, or is it going to be one sum for one sum for another, one sum for one sum for another?
I think with both these teams, I mean, RixGG in the first game, first series, you didn't really see a lot of aggression for them, a little bit of aggression, but it was more about taking the towers and more about being, like you said, calm and collective really as well. Yeah, it was kind of a lot slower than normal Wild Rift games, and I think that was also NASA giving them a little bit of a respect as well. I don't think Team Queso is going to give them respect at all. I feel like it's going to be full-out aggression from Team Queso, potentially Joey getting them AD carries. I know me and Hells know Joey a lot as well. We really want to see Joey on them AD carries as well. So hopefully we get to see it. Maybe we won't be able to. Maybe it'll just be Morgana again. But yeah, we should be really, really good.
You have to adapt, Udai, when it comes to the new metas. I don't know if Rhea is going to agree with us when it comes to the key points. So Rio, please, what are the key points for this series?
Thank you, Noah. I'm here with the 3 key points for this game. And actually, the last time we saw RixGG against Team Queso in an offline stage was actually the Origin Series Grand Finals, where Team Queso was able to get a spot for the Horizon Cup. Now, first time again, these teams are meeting on the offline stage. Now RixGG has a chance to get redemption and show that they are a different team than they were last time. The second thing I think is really important about this game is the fact that a lot of teams are right now getting a lot of leads through the top lane. We saw last game where Random was really popping off, but this one is a different match. Both Acolyte and Random has really been showing that they are not someone you just give up a lead against. So I think this game is probably going to be played more on the bot side because these top laners are not going to give you an easy time up there. The last thing I think is really interesting about this matchup is that RixGG is really a dominant team in terms of macro. They know how they want to play the game. They're calm, they're collective, and they know how to set up aggressive and set up vision for macro objectives. Whereas Team Queso, I would like to say they want to coin flip the game, but it's actually not a real coin. They are so strong mechanically. They're great aggressive players, and the coin usually goes towards their favor because, well, they're that good individually. That was my points here. I'm going back to you, Noah, to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much for those key points I'm going to discuss with my analyst desk, starting by you, WREC. Fact is that these teams have been, facing each other for so many times. One time is Queso, another time is RixGG. But that's a fact. RixGG has the chance for the revenge since the Origin Series.
Yeah, exactly. Like those two teams are for a very long time. They're really hyped, by the way. Those guys are really hyped about the match as well.
I think that was louder than Unicorns Love earlier as well. Wow.
Yeah, but like I said, these two are Titans, and Team Queso, Origin Series, they won it all. They beat RixGG, they upset them. So maybe it's time for RixGG to show some revenge.
Definitely, and health. We were focusing jungle, even bot lane matchup, but Ryu was all about the veteran top laners, and that's a fact. We saw the last game how random was super important for RixGG. Is it going to happen once again? But this time the clash is way more difficult.
I mean, Acolyte, I love that player. He's an incredibly good player, and Random as well. So for some reason, I don't know why, but Europe has, in my opinion, the best Baron laners in the world. Like even during the Horizon Cup last year. In my opinion, Acolyte was one of the best Baron laners there. So now Random has to face up against him. So this is different, right? Like as you guys said, this is different. This is not just a Baron laner. This is Acolyte and also Andres that he's matching up against. So this will be an incredibly hard and exciting matchup to watch in the Baron lane especially.
Absolutely agree. If I get another shield like the last one, I'm gonna die. I'm just saying. But the last point from you was calm game. Macro strategic versus aggro. Like watching RixGG the last game, I would say they are the aggro, but you know that Team Queso loves to play all straightforward, but not they are not here for play. Not child's game.
Yeah, they're not here to just play around with a little toy or something. They're going for that main prize. They're going to play aggressive. You hear them in the background as well. They're passionate. They love the game. They want to do well as well. And I think that just shows with the organization as well, being in WREC scene for a long time now.
Yes.
Obviously, with last year going to Horizon Cup, they want to defend their title. They want to go to the Icons later this year as well. They want to prove that even though last time at the Horizon Cup they didn't do too well, this time if they get to the Icon series, they want to prove that Europe and Team Queso are one of the best.
Yeah, the fact is that we were talking about RixGG redemption from the Origin Series part. You can feel how Team Queso wants that redemption from the Horizon Cup, and that's absolutely different. You want to go to Icons and deliver, Doc.
Yeah, I definitely have to say these teams are basically battling it out for the first seed in this group, and these teams have high expectations. They want to win it all, so this match is super important just to secure that first seed, getting easier matches in the semi-final, and then even trying to... I'm pretty sure these teams, the #1 goal is we want to win it all. So this match is gonna be super, super important.
Like, win it all, and I have to say, even though you get to face the second seed for the other group, that doesn't mean that the match is not going to be ultra tough, because we have, both teams, both groups are super stacked. Like, you have Camelot on the other group, they may be even losing to Formulation Gaming, maybe Palak is the surprise. I really don't know what to expect for these groups. Like, the playoffs are going to be quite crazy, I have to say.
I think the thing is as well is that if RixGG win this, then our next series, Team Queso against NASA, is going to decide who's going to go into that second seed as well. So Team Queso are going to have a lot of pressure if they lose the second game. And like you said, NASA in the background, they're probably thinking, they're like, okay, if RixGG win this, we have an opportunity to kind of bounce back against Team Queso as well. And I think that's the main thing. But if Team Queso win, it opens up the group wide open. If Team Queso win this, then they win the next one, they get the first seed.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, you don't get opportunities to fix your mistakes when it's just single round robin, and that's why you play with that much pressure right now. NASA is just waiting for one of these teams to mess it up, to smell the blood, to maybe try for that second seed. Even we could have a potential triple tie.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
In the group. I mean, you don't want. It would be ultra exciting.
I think if there is a potential for every team to go one-on-one. I don't really remember what happens if that happens at all. We'll have to see what happens if every team goes one-on-one. But there is a potential. NASA win the last game against Team Queso. Team Queso win this. Then we're all tied.
They're going to be all tied, definitely. But that's only, mental games. We're just figuring out stuff because we're super excited to watch this game. It's like one of the top games when it comes to the EMEA region, this RixGG versus Team Queso. And guys, I want to know your predictions. Health, I'm going to start with you. I mean, I know what you're going to say. I mean, you said it in the video, Elia.
No, but I'm not going to predict a 2-0. I'm going to predict 2-1 for RixGG.
You're going to predict 2-1. I like that. Not only the team that is going to win, but also the number of games that break it fast.
I'm going to say 2-1 for RixGG as well.
Stuart?
It's going to maybe 2-0, but I think it's more likely to be a 2-1 for RixGG.
You said 2-1 already.
Yeah.
I said 2-1.
Yeah,
2-1 as well. I have to do 2-1.
Okay. So let's see what Rio tells us in the interview about this game.
Thank you, Noah. I'm here with Mozilla, the head coach for RixGG. The last time we saw you guys in the qualifiers, you had a bit of a unlucky going in the playoffs where you lost 2 games in the finals, but we saw you guys coming strongly back and completely sweeping the last chance qualifiers. How has your preparation been ever since to become like a more, dominant force in this competition?
Yeah, I think especially in the games against Game Lords, we just weren't ourselves. The first game, we did have a lead, but we ended up throwing it, and I think that played a lot into how the rest of the series played out. And afterwards, we just took the time. We took a bit of rest. We went into the LCQ as like a fresh team, and then we just played our game, and it ended up really well.
Yeah, you guys played amazingly. You were so good. When you were placed into this group with both Team Queso and Nasser, who is obviously the first seed from Turkey, did you prepare from these teams differently, or did you prepare for them the same?
I think you got to prepare for every team differently. It's a lot of different styles clashing. Team Queso is a little bit more focused around Andres, while NASA is a lot of skirmish focused around their top side, especially. So we just do what we think is right.
A lot of us casters are really predicting you guys to either be first or second. What is your obvious goals coming into this event?
I mean, it's obviously going to Icons and being first here as the first seed for Europe, especially, and representing the entire region, and obviously stomping NA in the Icons Cup.
You heard it here first. RixGG is going to stomp NA at the Icons Cup. Back to you and the analyst. On the casting desk, Stress.
Yeah, it is time for us to get into game. To quote, we're going to basically aim to stomp NA, was what Rick said. I believe they can do it, but, let's see how they get past Queso first. Stress here at the caster desk, joined by Carmeline for our first series of games to cast for the weekend. Queso, I know, are a team close to your heart. What do you think their chances are in this series?
I mean, I'm quite tired of people saying RixGG to 1, well, maybe 2-0. That's for you, Darkbreaker. For me, it's going to be a 2-1 in favor of Team Queso.
I think there are the tools for that to happen, is what I would say. We casted enough games of Andre just smashing people out of the jungle and being too far ahead for teams to come back against them. I think the RixGG we saw from the series against NASA probably are a little too solid today right now for me to reliably say that, but it's always an option with Queso. You never really know which Queso is going to show up. Are they the ones smashing a team, or are they kind of getting outplayed a little bit in the lanes?
I mean, I think it's all about how comfortable they feel, because, again, they've got lots of experience when it comes to LAN events. They had the Spanish League last December, so I think they've got they've done plenty of that, but it's also about what's meta right now, because it might not favor them as much as we think it does. I know the changes might not affect directly the champion pool they've got, but if they really want to innovate and bring something new, I think that this is the time. Today is when you can allow yourself to kind of play a little bit around it.
Yeah, I think that there's a few picks that I'm looking at Queso that they've played, or at least play styles that might help them that other teams was a little slower to pick up on. Like Yuumi was a pick for Queso throughout the regular split. You can see the first time we're having our players face to face in nearly a year's time here, and I know RixGG and Queso are two of the teams that we're expecting a little bit of banter back and forth between. But
I've seen it already.
I know they're behind me, so I keep turning around to see exactly who's doing what. As we head into picks and bans, Yuumi was a pick that Queso picked up in the regular split. I'm expecting Shen to have a very similar priority for Queso, where you can play weak side on it, but if you're running like an Olaf or a carry jungle, as Queso like to do, the shield on top will get you all the way through the fight, and we're getting hype as we head into picks and bans for game number 1 between Team Queso and RixGG. If RixGG win this series, RixGG pretty much, well, they will have top spot in the group. They will advance to the playoffs. If Team Queso win this series, we get into an interesting spot.
Which we will, I'm telling you now. I've got full confidence in Team Queso right here. I've been supporting them for the entire season, not gonna ditch them right here. I've got the first ban actually, and I really we've seen them be this champion being played later, like earlier today.
We saw it earlier. We saw it out of Formulation, which is an expected pick for Formulation. But we also saw it out of the jungle in our second series from NASA. And, Andre's a carry, so give him a carry like Irelia. That's one pick that you have to look at there. As Jace is off the board and Camille as well.
Okay, well, Camille doesn't make sense due to what we've seen them play. Acolyte has played 4 times during the regular season. Again, Jace is quite strong now. We've seen him today as well. But I'm looking forward to see this last ban because I want to see if it's going to be focusing on what Andres said. If they're going to be choosing another route, are they really afraid of him after what they've done in the last game? I'm talking about RixGG here.
Could see a Gragas ban here or something that can flex, and then, ooh, did we actually have a missed ban? I'll double check whether that is correct. Now, there are so many picks up and available. I think Olaf has to come out from RixGG here as one of the bans. I can see the referee talking to Queso right now a little bit about the pick and ban phase, so I believe we will be restarting that and getting back into things in just a moment's time. So there are a couple of key picks that I feel like for Andre, you have to put pressure on in the draft. Olaf is absolutely one of them. You can always play Olaf with Lulu, with Yuumi, there's the Shen that we talked about, but Andre plays stuff like Lee Sin, he plays Jax, he plays a lot of these carries, and we have seen teams put 7 bans towards the jungle in games, and Andre still finds stuff in previous meta like the Rengar. We've seen Rengar recently in North America, so might be a pick that crops up from time to time in this weekend's games.
Yeah, I mean, he's got champion pool. Shinzo, Rengar, he played it twice during the WREC. He can play Kha'Zix as well. It's one of his specialties. But of course, can't forget what RixGG are gonna do here. Are they gonna they swapped again the jungler? I mean, they swapped again. They keep what they did before, which is interesting because do you really want to put a player who is native to all the lane into such a position face to face with Andres?
Yeah, that's a really tough spot to be in, as we hopefully will get back into the draft very quickly. We just wanted to tease you with 4 picks. We just wanted to show you a little bit of the draft and then take it all away from you. Obviously, these 2 teams are 2 of Europe's best right now. I think Queso, they didn't look great in the first few weeks. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to lie to our viewers at home. I'm just going to say, like, it took them some time to figure out just how much they could give Andre in order to win games, and it turns out they can give him everything. They can play Enchanter carries in the bottom lane with an Enchanter support, give him all the jungle farm, give him like every single tower that they possibly can, and Andre will carry a game. Like, they're the only team in Europe that play like it.
I think it also has to do with the thing that Joey, Metanote, Bayus were new to the team, relatively. Like Rose, even Memorize had just left the team in December. So between the preparation, they didn't have that much time. And it took them quite a while to get good synergy between them. We were talking about Joey not reaching his full potential. Bayus not being quite on the spot. So, I mean...
So, I've just had an update, so apologies for any issues that you're having at home with the stream. We are working through some technical issues when it comes to our internet at the current stage, so apologies. I know that we obviously want to get all the players into game and playing on the most secure environment that we can from that situation. So we can delve a little bit deeper into the draft. We were talking a little bit about synergy from Joey and Methanol and the Queso bot lane.
Yeah.
We've heard coming into the split that, you know, Joey, you know, he likes Vayne, he likes this kind of stuff. We haven't seen it. We've not seen any of these picks.
It's something that we complained before. I'm pretty sure during the regular season we were like, why is Joey with all type of picks? Because they were all AP. We've got Morgana, we've got, well, Varus played it 9 to 10 times, so many of them, but mainly mages. And that was something that, it was kind of disappointing because, again, we had this idea that it was much better in AD carry than in AP carry.
I think we got sold a fallacy from Hell's Devil. Hell's in all of our meetings. I'm just going to call him out directly. Hell's just like, Joey is amazing. Stuart said it as well. He's like, Joey's great. He's going to play Vayne. He's going to do all of these great, amazing things. And then we watched him play like Morgana for 4 weeks and those kinds of picks. A couple of Varus games, as you brought up. But, you know, it's not the same. It's not the same.
I miss things from that. However, the picks that he's been playing do complement the picks for Methanol with Braum, Rakan, for example, Galio being played so many times, about 7 times I think in total, which kind of like, I feel like this Dragon Lane, it's like an utility one. So they spent so many resources on Andres that maybe they've been left behind a little bit, and I want to see them as a surprise being brought up again. Just like I would love to see Acolyte not being weak side for once.
Yeah, I mean, historically, Acolyte has played Darius a whole lot in days gone by, right? And that's like one of his key signature picks. But even though Darius doesn't find himself in the meta so much anymore, I still think that there are a couple of spots that he may very well be playable. He got nerfed a little bit, if I recall
the attack
correctly.
speed was nerfed.
So Acolyte's one of those players that I think might default to it as like a last pick on red side if the opportunity is there against a heavy melee composition. But certainly, like, we see Acolyte and Veos as like these secondary carries for Queso.
Yeah.
But we don't see too many games where they pop off. For Veos, I'm like, okay, if you play Akali, right, you'll pop off and get given some gold. But it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen for Queso. Whereas for RixGG, I think RixGG have both a strength and a disadvantage for somebody like SE7, where RixGG can play around any of their 3 lanes.
Yeah.
They can carry through top, they can carry through mid, and we've seen them carry through bottom lane. And each one of those playstyles does represent something a little different for what SE7 has to do on the map. And I think that's maybe where we've seen RixGG struggle a little bit, is SE7 when they swap from a game focused from random to a game focused around Doom. I think that's been the moment where, you know, sometimes SE7's overextending on the wrong side of the map a little bit.
I think we've also talked about the lack of depth, possibly. Like when they're facing teams are, let's say, not as strong as them, they shine, but when they have to face equals like Game Lord and Team Queso, they might go for the standard. You know, I perceive RixGG as a really strong team that is kind of ABC. I don't think they just go for super out of the meta picks. Okay, they pick Sana, they've changed lanes. Maybe that's their redeeming.
What I would say to that is I find RixGG are very on the meta, meaning when a pick has been good in scrims and a pick has been good in solo queue, like Snitch is Singed, I would say, like, as a broadcast team doing our prep for this, we knew Singed was going to be a pick, so it's not a surprise to any of the teams here. I think for players perhaps that aren't playing in Challenger, that don't play a lot of solo queue, I think you'd be really confused that Singed is picked in the middle lane. But that's just because Snitch, he's played it on his stream, we've seen it a bunch. So I think RixGG are an up-to-the-minute refined team, but I don't think they push the boundary of like new picks that nobody's seen so much. They're not like Unicorns of Love where you're like, why are you playing Nasus Yuumi in the bottom lane, right? I expect RixGG to play like on meta and be very good at it. And it looks like we are back into the draft, which is a great sign. So to recap, Irelia was banned by Team Queso along with Jace. RixGG have banned Karma and Camille so far. We should fly through the picks to get to that stage. So I expect RixGG to have a firm grasp of the meta and do a very good job with the picks.
Same, but then again, who knows? I mean, if you give me Singed bot lane, for example, as support, I'd be like, oh my gosh, you've got Singed support. But, well, just moving on with this, because it's going quite quickly. We've got these bans that you were talking about that we saw beforehand. And now let's see if they're going to be, again, focusing on Dress. Who do you want? Who is the person that you fear the most in the enemy team that's gonna kind of go about the team?
So of course, because it seems like there was a connectivity issue before this ban, the ban will not be missed, and it will be a Riven that gets taken out by Team Queso. There's the Olaf ban. We kind of set that up the first time we were seeing the picks and bans phase. So where does that leave us? I mean, Queso. Will it be a high priority on the jungle, like something like a Jax that we've seen? There's a Graves available if they wanted, again, the similar kind of pick for Andre that he can carry around. There is the Jax for first pick, and that means RixGG, pretty much they can take Gragas if they want it, and then pair it with something else to flex around. Gragas is such a strong red side pick. He can go in 4 roles.
I mean, I like Gragas a lot because, as you said, it's really versatile. We're seeing it right now. I mean, it's been played by random, it's been played by so many players from RixGG, but I'm also wondering, if you've got a Gragas, if you've got a little bit of utility, if you've got a kind of teamfight composition, if you start like this, due to the healing and also due to the abilities like the Varro roll that are going to allow you to keep the enemy team at bay, and with a Rakan, this is looking perfect for them.
I was about to say, for Clue, it's going to be Rakan or Thresh there. Now Queso show us a little bit of what they got. Will it be the Yuumi rounded out here, which Yuumi Jax is terrifyingly strong. If Jax gets ahead, of course, has some weak moments, but the Lulu does a similar job. Lulu, as an enchanter, is going to come in, keep Jax alive. On top of this, you can play stuff like Jinx with it. You can play some of the more traditional AD carries. You're unlikely, I was going to say, unlikely to go towards a mage, but Joey is stuck seemingly on Morgana duty. Now, of course, we've seen Morgana jungle, we've seen a few different things, and we're flying through the picks here as Varus will be rendered out by RixGG. So, very bot lane heavy draft so far from Queso and RixGG.
Well, Burrows, we saw Rix playing it beforehand. And if I have to think of these 2 bot lanes, you've got the Morgana and the Lulu. And Morgana is going to have the Black Mist, not Black Mist, that's an
Tormented Soil.
Tormented Soil, exactly. That to keep the enemy at bay, also do kind of passive damage. The Lulu to help keep her lane. But I think Rix is going to pop off with Burrows and Rakan. You've got so much engage, you've got the range. And if Lulu, for whatever reason, tries to get closer to poke, you can very easily do a grand entrance with the Rakan and just basically destroy them. So they're going to have to play a quiet early game, like calm early game if anything, and then see what happens.
Well, we've gone 4 bans from the solo lane so far. Singed banned away from Snitch after an impressive game earlier today. Renekton and Darius, there goes the signature pick for Acolyte. So for RixGG, I wonder whether they're going to bring a little bit more scaling in here, because Varus has a great early game, and we know RixGG have a very solid early game, but I always love to see people round things out. We're staying in the early game, and wow, this is RixGG saying, we are going to take it to you in the jungle early on. Pick up a Lee Sin, somebody who can have jungle control and not let Andre run away with this.
Yeah, Lee Sin is a one-target kind of champion, which is gonna work pretty well in the lane phase. Almost in the team fights, they can expect some sonic waves coming around to start, you know, kicking things off, no pun intended. But I'm worried about Team Queso right now, because I see that you've got Jax to be a little bit tanky. And there we go.
We are going full protect Andre. Triple protection champions for now. Maybe they'll bring a top lane carry here as well. I wonder whether it'll be the likes of a Fiora, but they would, of course, be banking on it being Gragas unless they're going to blind pick a top lane here. So I wonder how safe they're going to go and put all of their eggs in the Andre basket. This is a tried and true version. It's a frontline top laner that they can blind pick. It's somebody that can play a little bit around, you know, holding RixGG away from the engage. I think if RixGG don't bring late game, then Team Queso have the far stronger late game composition, but it is everything about Andre. And if Andre falls behind, there's some late game for you. Let's bring a Vayne tank destroyer from RixGG. We'll see where the lanes actually end up, whether that's random on the Vayne or whether it's going to be the Gragas up in that top lane. We'll see when we get into game, but that's a little bit more about what we were expecting from late game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thinking we're now looking at these compositions. You said Team Queso really centered all about Andres and protecting him, but it's also about what can you do with it. Like, you've got a Garen who is gonna be just doing quite a lot. I'm just concerned because if you look at RixGG's composition, I feel like it's a little bit more rounded up than Team Queso's. So it'll become, you were talking about the early game, the mid game. I think RixGG is definitely better at the early game. And if you look at Team Queso, they tend to shine more at the mid game.
Am I going crazy? Because the video wall behind Queso has Lux.
Yes.
But in draft, I saw a Galio. They both do the same thing, right? We've seen Lux be a carry as well at the same time from bottom lane. So we'll see when we get into game. One of them will be correct, I hope, unless it's a third champion that we didn't see. That might change things a slight amount, and we'll see where that Vayne goes. But interesting draft. I'm kind of excited to see Doom on Varus. I do like me some Varus, but I think when you draft full early game, RixGG, they are so strong in the early game that I think that's a really good champion to play around.
But we have to be careful around the Vayne. You want to give her some space to scale up and become the beast that she can be. But for now, I think we're going right into the game. Are you excited this round?
I am. It's Galio. Methanauts on the Galio with Joey, and it's Veos pulling out the Lulu in mid lane. We're having a Ruiz cosplay for Veos. Those of you that joined us in the first few weeks of Europe, Ruiz kind of had to first time Lulu on stage because Game Lord just picked it for him. Bot lane, we're into a fight already. There is no stopping when there's a Varus in the bottom lane. Joey already forced to use that exhaust. Ignite was used in exchange as well for Methanaut. This is RixGG in full control of bottom lane up against this double AP style in that bot lane. And wow, Veos is roaming up top to help Acolyte push out against this Vayne. That's team player Veos.
It does make sense. Lately, I've seen teams deciding to group up a little bit, split experience that you get from both lanes, and then go back to yours. And what it creates is quite a good window for your team to keep on pushing later on and get a favorable wave if you want to get that first kill early game.
I'm looking at Seven. I'm looking at Seven and where he is because Acolyte is struggling to push up with the wave, and they're actually going to punish this push forward. Of course, only level 2 for Seven, so he doesn't have full access to his entire kit. Means Acolyte can flash away, but already the pressure is on. And any solo laner will tell you, playing a ranged versus melee matchup into a Vayne is really, really punishing. And Random knows how to play it. Mid lane, Veos is dropping low. Seven walks in, and he's going to slam the ground for first blood.
I think it also has to do with Andreas not being present in any of the lanes right now. He's rotating towards the bot lane, which allowed RixGG exactly to know where the Team Queso players were in order to be able to attack them and gank them properly. Now, Andreas has to be careful here. They didn't have a proper wave to keep on pushing. They're going to have to back away both Joey's Methanaut. And with Acolyte back in the lane, he's gonna be a little bit behind. The wave is quite pushed. He'll be a little bit safer for the next few minutes, but definitely a good start for RixGG.
So this composition from Queso was all about Andre being their primary carry, and it will be for the entire game. The problem is, Seven is already asserting control on the jungle, getting vision control, invading on the top side. Like, he's trying to do what he can to put Andre back on the back foot. And I mean, if you're Queso, you need something to start going right around this Jax. You need Jax to, like, somehow take a skirmish, but look, already Seven is going to go over the wall. Does manage to get it as Andre does land the stun, but Seven has the level advantage. That Dragon's Rage gets the flash as well to reposition. Clue lands the knock-up. In goes SC7 off the resonating strike, forces out the wild growth from Lulu, and Veos is taken down. There's the Vayne. That's the worst possible turn of events for Team Queso. Vayne picking up the kill. We are, however, going into a pause, but Vayne getting that kill is exactly what Random would be looking for.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you never want to see in your solo games, the Vayne with the kills. But I also feel like they've gone a little bit ahead of themselves for Team Queso. Like, the positioning was not the best. You had Garen in top lane. The vision for RixGG was pretty good. And do you still decide to just round up in the jungle, which you know is being controlled by the enemy team, by the RixGG, as I said, and Veos comes to help, uses wild growth in the meantime. I felt like it was, again, a little bit of a nervous step. They should have taken things a little bit clearly, and of course, vision, important.
Yeah, I think this is one thing that Queso have, in the past, been punished for from time to time, is when they don't anticipate Andre getting challenged. I think against the teams that went out earlier in WREC, for the teams that weren't as prepared as the likes of a RixGG or a GameLord, I think those junglers struggle to punish Andre at any point in the game. Whereas when we've seen the top teams, they've really put that pressure on and made sure that Andre didn't get an easy early game. And it's this same thing happening again, right? You drop the wards in the jungle, you invade on his buffs, you make sure his early game is as difficult as you can make it. And that it's already paying off for RixGG. It's already the strategy that they are making work for themselves here in game 1.
You could see the clearing the jungle pathing that RixGG was doing. It's like 7. And you could also see that it wasn't as effective for Team Queso because they were getting constantly focused on, so that they, like, any movement they made will be seen. And I think that's going to cost them a lot to come back from, just for the mere fact that as the players, what the champions players are playing, the players are playing the champions.
Or are the champions playing the players? That's always the...
I think, well, they can come back from this. This was just the first kill. But still, I think the position, the vision needs to be better. And particularly, I kind of see Andres a little bit like going back and forth. Top lane, bot lane, not really having that much impact and not even getting that vision.
Yeah, I think... It is, you know, they can come back in this from Queso. It's only 2 kills to start the game. There's always opportunity to come back. What I would say, though, is where the gold has gone is a really difficult thing to overturn, right? It's like you've given one of the best carry top laners on one of the most solo carry champions that is in the entire game already gold early on in this lane. And he already had a lead from the way that they were playing the range versus melee matchup. Like, I feel like RixGG kind of outmaneuvered Queso coming out of the draft with this Vayne pick. I feel like they had drafted so much in the early game that of course they were going to pick something late game. You have to, otherwise you're going to get snowballed, you know, slowed down and then pushed out of the game late on. And the Vayne just fits because of the way that there's nobody really to threaten. There's no champion that can actually consistently threaten Vayne, because what does Jax do? Jumps into the back line, gets on Vayne, you get condemned. It doesn't get blocked. And Jax just can't follow up. There's a world where if Jax goes off, he can take care of everybody and like stun Vayne, but it's so hard to make work. We see you. We see you, Queso.
Hey, hello there. Hello.
Nice to have LK and the rest of Queso here as well. Of course, we heard from LK a bunch of times during the split in our interviews, so I still will maintain that we need to hear more from RixGG. But you know, that's mostly just a meme because I know that Doom and Clue don't want to do interviews. But Queso, on the other hand, I know you're very familiar with them. Like, do you know at all how their preparation has been coming into to our finals here?
I know they've been scrimming quite a lot, and I've also known, I think it doesn't matter also, like Spain is a country, they hang out together a lot between the players. So I think the feedback Team Queso has been able to get, particularly Acolyte and Andres, from the Spanish community and all the professional players and coaches has been immense. Like, the feedback, it's so valuable because you might not see it from the inside. You might be like, okay, I've done a good job, but other players who'd been in a similar position, Wargers, for example, players from Wargers can join in and be like, this is not quite right. And now Team Queso proclaimed kings of Spain, to get someone to talk to about it. And I think that's something that all the teams might not have so much.
Yeah, that kind of community spirit, I think, is something that's great for helping Queso. We'll see that as well, a little bit more from Europe as a whole as we get closer to Icons. I think that's always one of my favorite things coming from PC League of Legends is the community around teams going to international competitions. So speaking of that community, let's hear a little bit from Queso. Apologies for the issues we're having on the delay. As we're trying to get things sorted to get back into game, let's take a look at Team Queso and their road here to the WREC finals.
A lot of people have high expectations for Team Queso, especially with swapping in their bottom lane as well with Joey Skaggs and Methanol coming in.
Hey, my name's Joey Skaggs and I'm the ADC for Team Queso and I'm from Netherlands.
Chains of Corruption off the flash from Jash. May very well start this one out. Double knock-up on the backside, and now Team Queso trying to kite back. Team Queso trying to keep themselves alive, but Andre's going to go back into the fight. Joey picked up a double kill. Doesn't even need the mechanical champions in order to do it.
I prefer AD carries. That's why I started playing the role. I did not start to play this role to be a mage bot. I'm always happy to do what is good in the meta and what helps the team the most. I don't really care about what I play. As long as we win, I'm fine with that.
Looking behind his eyes, there's a burning desire to play like Vayne and mechanically.
I know what Joey's like, and trust me, he's not a mage player.
I feel like Joey's been a very solid player and has done a really good job where he's needed to.
In the first qualifier, we lost to Game Lord, and then not the best state as a team. We kind of had to just crumble together what we had and make the best out of it. And I think in the end, we did a very, very good job in like the last few days. We won against Formulation and we won against Team Dark. So I think with enough practice in the next month, we are really capable of winning it all.
Trying to end this game, it's not just to try, it's going to be everything they need. Team Queso will 2-0 their way past Team Dark and book their tickets to Barcelona.
I actually lived in Spain when I was like 2 years old. I don't remember anything. Hola, ¿qué tal? Te quiero. I mean, I can say a few words, but to the fans, in this month we can change a lot of stuff, and I think for sure we can win the whole thing. So just keep supporting us, and we won't let you down.
Well, that's a little bit more about Joey, and you know, he says he's not a mage player. That's probably like the 10th time I've heard him say he's not a mage player, and yet he's still playing Morgana. So, I mean, unfortunate if you're Joey, right? It's like you get signed up as this like prodigy, like young mechanical player. He's gonna be everything that Queso built their brand around, and then they're like, but we want you to play for our jungler.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's like, okay, fine.
Honestly, I can't say anything about Joey because I feel bad about. I mean, I can't criticize him, to be honest.
It's fine. You can do it in Spanish. Apparently, he can't understand.
No, it's just because Joey is the name of my adopted sea otter. So it's like I have a close connection to that name.
I'm just taken aback by the phrase "adopted sea otter."
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I gotta you know save the sea otters. I guess. I don't know. Are they endangered?
Yeah, absolutely. They are. Wait, are we turning into an environment?
We can.
So,
I can talk about otters all day.
Okay, so essentially, sea otters were almost disappeared as a species due to people hunting them back in the 19th century, in the early 20th century, to get the skin, the fur, in order to make coats.
This took a really dark turn.
Yeah, so now they're trying to, bring back the population of otters. It's very difficult to spot them when they're in the wild, but now there are many rescue programs in place so that they can be safe. Joey in particular is at the Vancouver Aquarium with seven otters, C7, like the.
Oh wow, there's a connection here. We got a Joey, we got a 7. I mean, they're not in Vancouver, they're here on stage. They might be playing players from Vancouver, I guess, eventually, if we get to it. RixGG vs Team Queso is the game that we're in. I hope we're going back into it. Yes. Conservation's really important, but right now, Queso are trying to conserve their early game, as they kind of have dropped 2 kills already. To reset this game for you, of course, Random picked up a kill in the jungle. And Andre has struggled to find his footing thanks to the invades from SE7. So much of it's coming from this top lane, though, from Acolyte, being in a very difficult matchup. 500 gold down already.
Absolutely, but it's not the only lane. Look at Andre said 700 gold down. The same happens in the mid lane there with 400. You can see how Team Queso's mid lane to top lane are not doing so well. So Devarin is going to have a difficult time here with the Rift Herald. And now that the Dragon is spawning, we'll have to see if they decide to split the objectives or not, because RixGG, being in control here, can do kind of whatever they want to. But I do believe that the Mountain Dragon will benefit them.
Queso Feos is having such a bad day. This day keeps getting worse. Galio coming in, but all it's going to do is deliver Methanol to it, although maybe they can get the kill. They do actually take out Snitch, as he didn't have his flash available. Maybe this is turning back in favor of Queso, or am I completely wrong? As Andre does survive, they pick up a kill, but it's all about RixGG. And you're asking, would they split objectives? I don't think Queso can do too much fighting.
No.
Ooh, Andre, no way. Does he get this?
No.
Counter-strike going. SE7, oh no, he got left alone! Oh, the betrayal! Top 10 anime betrayals from Clue.
I mean, he didn't have heal anymore. No flash. What did you want him to
But you gotta get the knock-up. You gotta see. Oh, that's just desynced back SE7. Well, that's gonna give Andre a way into the game.
also they force Snitch's flash and ignite, which will be quite favorable for them because Veus is already recovering faster. Now, if you look at other play once again, Snitch and C7 card Veus, who tries to use the wild road to escape. But if you look at the river right now, is where Rakan is approaching. And even though the team play ends up in favor of Team Queso, the potential that Rakan had to end that fight in favor of RixGG was immense. So, a mistake for RixGG.
Oh, we're not even going to show it. We can't even show the betrayal. So Andre, Counter-Strike running, going to lock down Clue. RixGG are going to try and fight this, and I think Team Queso will see where that gold has really put. Andre is into the fight, goes Clue, gets a double knock-up, gets a triple charm from that one, and that's exactly what SC7 needs to open up this fight. Flash forward as Andre gets condemned away, didn't hit a wall as Acolyte has dropped low. Rift Herald has already gone over to RixGG, and Acolyte going to find himself in front of the fat man as Snitch just going to coax them through the top side jungle, and Queso, they couldn't afford to fight this early, and that is exactly why.
Yeah, they rotated way too quickly towards the Rift Hold, which is now just open to take the tower right here in the mid lane. They can rotate comfortably towards the dragon, and this leaves Team Queso with 3 choices. No towers taken down for them. They've got no towers, like half held, for them to take once again, and this is putting RixGG in such an advantaged position moving forward. They've got vision, they've got the kills that they need, particularly Vayne has got 2 kills already, and we can see it here. Andres, I think he overextends a little bit. They don't quite land the Dark Bending, and here's where things get complicated. Methanode has to retreat because his life is half what it should be. Methanode gets caught once again as a Galio, who should be the frontliner. The Herald is still there, so RixGG, all they have to do is retreat a little bit, take it, and then chase after them.
And it looked like Joey flashed early on in the fight and then puts himself forward, really in harm's way. And as soon as Andre's lost so much of his health, there's no real way of Queso fighting this. Like, Acolyte has a little bit of damage, Joey has some, but it's all about this Jax taking full control in these fights and making sure he can put the damage on up front and then just tidy up the team fight. And it's been difficult for them to make it work. Random gonna pop the honey fruit. I mean, 5 a day, but if you're playing a ranged champion in top lane, you can get every single honey fruit. Condemned doesn't hit the wall, doesn't need to at this point, just creating space so that Random can stay safe in that lane. But of course, they did show topside with Veos, who, not for his fault, is having a rough game. 0-3 on this Lulu. May very well about to have a rougher day as Methanaut is getting caught behind him, and it means that Queso are getting funneled back up into the lane.
Yeah, and this could be fatal for them because getting kind of flanked. They got not enough vision for this. Acolyte might be the first of all, but stress.
Chains of Corruption does land, puts Veos at half health from this, and RixGG, they were thinking about a dive. Snitch wasn't quite with them, and RixGG kind of second-guess it, trying to get that top tower. So moments like this where Queso can kind of slow the game, SC7 showing off the fancy footwork. Moments like this where Queso can slow the game, push a wave back out, and stop RixGG from snowballing, will eventually benefit Queso, but now it's on RixGG of keeping that tempo up, keeping on making their plays around the map.
Yeah, also, this was leaving a wave going straight towards Team Queso's tower, which had to be stopped by Joey. But then again, the pressure that we're applying really opened the window for them. Oh my gosh!
Oh, trying to force the flash out from Joey, I guess. We had the Black Shield as well. As SC7 was looking for it. Knockup comes through from Clue. They put damage down onto Andre, but now on the back side of this, it's Random dropping low. He's playing a squishy champion on that Vayne, and Andre's picked up 1. Can he get more from it as Counter-Strike runs, gets the leap strike out, and Veos was there as well. And this is starting to look a little shaky for RixGG, if you'll excuse me, as that's another Chains of Corruption landing, but it doesn't get the kill. And Queso, they're getting a little tankier. They're getting the gold onto Andre in these fights. And RixGG's late game insurance is only the Vayne, and here comes Andre into the lane. Snitch gets the body block on at least the attempt. He's still got the flash, so can get himself away, but Queso, they're slowing the game. They're keeping RixGG a little bit behind where RixGG want to be, but with an objective coming up in 25 seconds, I think that's the next goal for RixGG.
Absolutely, and we can see... What?
This certainly is the Coca-Cola pop-off.
Yeah.
And Andre smashes through his Clue. That smirk. work.
The face of betrayal, like, okay, this would have happened. But again, even if though Team Queso are slowing down the game, they still don't have really any towers that they can touch upon. Maybe the top lane tower is the one that they can really rely on in order to do it. But let's remember that RixGG does have the mid lane tower, and they can rotate comfortably towards the Herald, because they know that Team Queso are, what they are is trying to contest with this dragon lane. And now, with the dragon spawning so shortly, it's a matter of who will take it once again. But teams want it. Team Queso is in a little bit of position to take it compared to the last dragon they had to take away. Maybe fight for this mid lane not to be open.
Flash taunt, Counter-Strike doesn't land. There's the charm from Clue as well, and Queso burned a lot to get this engaged. Methanoid gonna ult on the spot to try and at least protect the team. That's a great kick onto Veos, and Andre is down, and that means it's all RixGG all the time. Clean ace, everything RixGG needed from that engage.
That was terrible for Team Queso. This just allows RixGG to do whatever they want to. They had the Herald, which are going to be used in the mid lane. In the meantime, you can't go for the Dragon. That's all you want. You've got plenty of time. And of course, it's split pushing. The top lane tower quite beaten down, about to fall. Vayne doing what she knows how to do best. This is not an ending game kind of play, but it's definitely something that is going to cost Team Queso so much time to repair that I can't see a way for them to properly come back to the game unless if they want to do it, it'll take them quite a few minutes to lose.
There was a slight opportunity for Queso where they were getting those individual picks on the side lane, when they were getting a couple of kills over to Andre, but a fight like this is how it cannot go for Queso. RixGG absorb 3-4 pieces of crowd control, big ultimates that were just taken from RixGG and just saying, okay, this is no problem. 7 lands the kick he needs, even blocks the charge from Methanoid to get his way out. I don't even know whether it would have done much to get Methanoid out of that situation, but RixGG clean ace. Everything keeps the pace up. Queso are going to really struggle now with that mid lane getting pushed in.
I think it also mattered that the Wild Worth arrived a little bit too late for my taste. When Garen was about to die, no one was there. Oh my gosh.
Well, Seven's going to style on Joey for a moment. Random gets taunted up, but that taunt's not going to do too much. This is an overextension, though. Veos will get the kill. Random now left in a 1 versus 3. 2 low health targets. Random can't put out that much AoE damage. As a Vayne, you're all on that single target. So there's no real way of dealing with a multi-person attack like that. And that means Queso, they get a kill. They do lose a dragon for it, though. RixGG, despite the fact that it went not as well as it could have, still come out ahead.
Look at them clean the wave once again to get it pushed. Keep Team Queso away from the Herald. It's going to be a spawn. Well, the Herald. The next objective is going to be spawned in about 10 seconds. The doubling has been abandoned completely, and now Team Queso have to regroup. They have to walk together because RixGG, as a group, is really strong. They know they're backing up. This is giving them a little bit of a time frame in order to do what they want to do, which is, as you can see, yes, Rotator is there. Get a little bit of vision control as well, and be face-to-face with RixGG.
And objective control is one of the things that RixGG does very well. They never start an objective that I notice too early. They always look at getting objective control, pushing the wave back out, and making sure that they have access to the river. The only thing that I'm a little bit afraid of is if they go past this ward that's up in the top side. If Garen has a teleport, that is a perfect flank. Garen, not the best flanking champion, to be honest. Like, there are champions that do it better, but that ward has now expired. Queso don't have as much vision control, so a moment there perhaps the Queso could have looked at it, but there's no teleport anyway. It's a redemption currently. This is a story about how much Queso have to invest in Andre. 2 redemptions, multiple champions with shields and heals and taunts and crowd control, damage mitigation. Seven's going to go in. He's found someone. Who is it? He's found Methanoid on the Galio. Double taunt. Andre up in the middle of 4 members of RixGG. But look at the damage traded out. Andre putting good damage out. Forces the stasis from Doom. And RixGG are trying to kite back. Acolyte playing front line for now. Body slam from Snitch. It's going to shut the door as Andre is down. It's another kill going over to RixGG. 15 kills on this game, and it's all RixGG. They're going to take the Baron. No. They're going to take this game. Queso are going to be 1-0 down in this series.
Well, that's what you say, Stress.
This would take one monumental backfire from here for a Baron buffed RixGG to lose this game. With a Vayne. Vayne is 3,000 gold up. Oh, nearly 4,000 actually, looking at on Acolyte. And yes, Jax is a late game scaling champion. Yes, Jax is a monster. But the way that RixGG have shut Andre out of these fights has completely mitigated the jungle superstar from Queso.
Again, Methanol's play here was a little bit W's, and then RixGG manages to split the team fight here, leaving 2 members of Team Queso alone, one of them being Acolyte, so it was quite easy to take them over. And then Methanol is there retreating in the middle of the jungle, which is not the best idea, and he obviously gets caught up. Joey escapes, but then again, what can you do as a Morgana? You just have to back away, try to buy some itemization that will protect you, and that's about it. Like, RixGG got it quite easy right now. They're gonna go for this lane tower. Let's see if that works out for them.
To put it in perspective, Clue as the support has more completed items than Acolyte right now, the Baron laner of Team Queso, and they are full items. We're talking Warmogs, we're talking Dead Man's Plate, like full tank items compared to Acolyte's situation. And it just means that as Snitch goes aggressive, the damage has already come out. Methanol is able to get away from it as Clue gets knocked up. Doesn't really matter because Andre is already half health out of this fight. Random wants to chase it but had tower aggro for a moment there. Doom now has the aggro himself, and RixGG's health bars have been chunked, but RixGG will reset. They will heal themselves up for just a moment and look to end off the next push. It's Elder up in 15. It's Elder Infernal. This will give them the extra damage on top of their composition in order to close this game out and really prevent that late game threat of the Jax from ever coming back into this game.
Thanks so much. I wish we could see the itemization right now to see what they thought, how they are completing this, but for the time, again, as you said, they're going to rotate towards there. They've got Team Queso just getting out of base, trying to, you know, fight this a little bit. Not all in, because that wouldn't be productive.
Seven's going in. Teleport has been used. But look, there's going to be supers pushing through topside. RixGG just have to take their time here. Somebody has to go and take that wave, otherwise minions will end this. For those of you not familiar with Wild Rift, super minions will end the game very quickly if they arrive at the Nexus. So Acolyte has to go back. RixGG know they can start the Elder Dragon. And there's no real way of Queso getting through here. Chains of Corruption is going to lock Andre in place on top of the explosive cask, and Andre is already a 3rd health. Methanol ults to try and keep people alive, and he's done it for just a moment, but Queso, they've only found Clue so far. Andre is dropped out of the fight. Queso cannot hold on. It was closer perhaps than it should have been. A triple kill comes through from SE7, showing jungle dominance, and RixGG will walk through the top side in order to get to the Nexus and take game 1 over Team Queso.
Well, I mean, I think I don't want to see Veos on a Lulu ever again.
It is a different playstyle for Veos. We you know, come to expect Veos to play a little bit more of the assassins, like the Akali. You've seen that kind of thing. And you know what? I don't blame Queso for going, okay, how many corners can we cut to give Andre everything? And try and see if it'll be a slower game. The problem is, RixGG are warmed up. They just 2-0'd NASA, and they know they can play early game very well. And I don't think that late game play style is going to work.
I also think focusing on Andres all the time for Team Queso is being counterproductive, because every team knows what they're gonna do, right? So I think it would be more surprising and more effective if they try to focus on all the lanes, give them the resources, like for example the Dragon lane that has been once again for Morgana, Galio. Like, come on.
I think at the same time, it's if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Like, Queso have looked good when they've played around Andre. Andre is the kind of player you can play around, and I mean, we'll see what strategy they come out with in game 2, because they're going to need to come back with something at least a little different as we head to game 2 to see whether Queso can even up this series. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
to win. Yeah, they know what I'm about. Won't touch the mic if they know that I'm about. Cause I'm the only one to make the place jump about. We came to party, we don't want no trouble now. This game loves, and I spit those flames, Let's stay in your lane, pops. Better tell those lanes stop. Only one mic controller, so give that mic to its rightful owner. Smooth young brother with the right persona. Those girls look fine, invite them over.
Until you see a breakthrough. That's right. Come on. Why? You know we're gonna break through.
Hello, welcome everyone. That was a crazy game, the one we had between Team Queso and RixGG. Stuart, let's say that Team Queso sticked to the style.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of spoke a little bit about it before the game, focusing everything on the Andre basket. They did the same again with the Jax pick. Then they did Morgana on Joey, which we've seen before in the WREC. But the mid lane pick, I think that's probably something that we have to focus on. The Lulu, I didn't really like too much.
Yeah, Doc, so many supports to protect that Jackson. In the end, it didn't pay off, and you were facing this Vayne ultra powerful. You were facing this Varus in the ball lane, also ultra powerful. It feels like Team Queso fall short.
Yeah, I don't know. Team Queso, like Stuart already said, they put all the eggs into the Andres basket, just going for the Lulu, going for the Morgana, and I feel like Joey wants to go on those hyper carry ADC champions where he shines the most, but also really interesting picks in general. Lulu in the mid lane and Vayne in the Baron lane. So this is actually the first time Random went for an ADC champion in the Baron lane, and the condition to play this is actually having the coverage from your own jungler to protect you from the enemy jungler, because usually the enemy jungler will obviously try to punish you, try to stop you from snowballing the enemy Baron laner, because Vayne obviously one of the best 1v1 champions, and with the range advantage bullying the Garen completely, and it worked out really well. and in general, their team comp of RixGG was so fun to see, with the playmaking from Rakan jumping in, and also Snitch on that Gragas with his ultimate catching people, or with his third ability in combination with a flash, immediately jumping onto the opponents without any reaction, catching people. So pretty nice to see.
Definitely, Gragas have been a whole point to discuss in this game so far. We got the Gragas who really popped up, but we had 3 games in a row, where Clue was the Clue.
Yeah, Clue's playing really, really well. And Clue's basically showing we don't need 3 supports, right? Like Team Queso did. We only need 1, and it's me, Clue. Playing the Rakan and just, oh my god, showing absolute dominance. He was everywhere. He was always initiating the team fights. He was always catching out the right target. And what a phenomenal player. Like, I gotta be real honest here. I didn't have that high expectations, because in the online events, you know, he played really well, but there were other supports outplaying him. Yeah. But now he just absolutely destroyed the matchup, Noah.
We saw Clue being squad in 18 out of 20 or so kills of his team.
Yeah,
like the kill participation is just so high, and this is not only in this game, it's been in the last series as well, and it's like this guy is popping off.
I feel like it's a situation where Team Queso might have to actually ban out the Rakan now, to be honest with you, in game number 2. Like, Clue is the one that's always been at the forefront. He's always been super aggressive. He's always the one making the engages, and then the rest of the team can follow up as well. Snitch in that last game as well, as Darkbreaker said, on the Gragas did really, really well with the explosive cast as well, but we just saw the damage numbers there as well.
Yes.
Lulu did more damage than Andre in the jungle on Jax. So you know that it didn't really work out too well for them.
I mean, it's annoying, but not that. That was annoying. So guys, let's check on the play of the game so far on this game, because we have a lot of plays. Doc, let's say that the early game from RixGG was a staple, but suddenly, once again, they pulled the trigger and went all aggro onto Team Queso.
Yeah, exactly. Right here, they try to capitalize and catch the Varus, but that explosive cast from the Gragas, from Snitch, catching Andrew Z immediately on that Jax. He's dying, and he's the key champion in their team comp, and if he dies immediately, they don't have the damage anymore, because all of the other champions are like supportive champions that want to boost the Jax so he can carry, but obviously Jax kind of struggles against the enemy team comp because they have so much disengage abilities coming from the Gragas, from the Varus ultimate. Even the Vayne Condemn can push you away, or the Rakan Charm and the knockups. There's just too much core control going on, and I feel like the Jax just didn't fit it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem that you have as Team Queso, right? Like, you cannot pull this off against RixGG. They picked the exact champions that they needed to just destroy Andres, right? Like, they had the Varus route, they had the Condemn from the Vayne, and they had the Gragas ultimate. You just can't hyper carry into that. Like, backstage we were talking, sure, this could work, the Jax pick into some melee champions that, you know, like, cannot really push you away, or they cannot really kite you. But against this draft that RixGG had, you can't do this. So 3 supports, you know, you're not going to be able to funnel Andres that hard for him to just hard carry into a composition like that. So I'm not sure if they're going to do it again, but I'm expecting some changes in the draft, Noah.
I mean, I don't know if it was Darkbreaker, the one that said it on the backstage, but it's like these kind of compositions when you depend, when you rely that hard on one single player, it's like you can't make any mistake, any tiny mistake, because if that player gets killed, your whole game plan blows up. It's absolutely gone. So this is what the first game of Team Queso versus RixGG has been. We have RixGG, you know, on the right battles too, right? Which means that if Team Queso gets lost on one, the next series is going to be a banger.
The last series is going to be the decider, really. Whoever gets that second seed, because then if RixGG win this, then they go on through as the first seed, so they play the second place of Group B. And then the next game, NASA against Team Queso, whoever wins that goes on to the second seed and goes to the semi-final.
It's going to be crazy if that happens, but now we're going to connect with Ryu, that is ready with the interview.
Thank you, Noah. I'm here with Elge, the head coach from Team Queso. So coming into this event, Elge, you guys are the defending champions of Europe, winning Origin Series last year, representing Europe at the Horizon Cup. You also kind of have like a home advantage playing field. Do you feel extra pressure being here as the defending champions?
Honestly, no. I think the pressure would be here mostly with a big crowd or anything. I feel like everyone would like need to show up or everything, but everyone here is very, very calm. Like all the teams know each other. There's like no banter. I feel like everyone is very comfortable where they are.
Nice. In the first game of this series, we saw you guys picking 3 support champions and playing around Anders set. What is your thoughts about putting all your eggs in one basket?
I think it's not putting all in one basket. I think the game plan goes in certain ways that we could not execute properly. And I think that's like the main reason why we lost. And the early game was not very good from us. But yeah, I think we will make it better next game.
Nice to hear that. Are you going to make a lot of changes for next game, or will we see kind of the same style again?
I think you'll have to wait to see more.
That's perfect. Back to you, Noah. Oh, actually, it's stress.
No.
Yeah, it's time for us to get back into the game. And there you go. I know Ryu, it's some of his first interviews. You're going to ask a coach before draft what they're going to draft in game? They ain't never going to tell you that.
So back to you, Stress. Hello, I'm Carmel. I'm casting this too.
Yeah, Carmeline with me here. I can still hear Ryu in my head. I was telling him some
I couldn't
the game, as I'm sure Ryu's just wanted to chat in every position for today. So let's focus in on game 2. Let's leave everything behind us and say game 2. Carmeline, you and I are going to cast it.
Are we?
Apparently so. We're getting closer towards the draft. I don't think RixGG need to make too many changes, but we talked a little bit about Veos on the Lulu. I think we're going to see a change there, right?
Yeah, please, Lulu, get out of here. Wincy picks wherever. We don't want to see it again. You know, we want to see what Vegas is truly made of, which is bloodlust.
Bloodlust. Well, Vladimir's not in this game, so we can't have anything too thematically appropriate on that one. I mean, for Veos, to me, that's like a Kali. We're going to see maybe an Ari that we've seen out of Veos. Like those kind of champions, I think, fit Veos' playstyle a whole lot more and gives them more opportunity. So if Andre's early game is not quite as good as expected, which wasn't necessarily Andre's fault, I think when you're playing around a jungler, it is a team dynamic that is reliant on that. You know, supports and laners assisting in the jungle. When you're playing against a Lee Sin, really hard to win a jungle matchup as Jax, I feel. Like all of your lanes need to try and like win and push out, whereas all of Quesos were losing.
Yeah, but you have to think that he was playing versus C7, who originally was playing in the Dragon lane. So I feel kind of defeated, but I know Team Queso have a strong mental. And you know what they say, in love and war, all is fair. And if they have to shout their hearts out in order to intimidate RixGG, I expect him to do so.
I don't think RixGG is going to be intimidated. If you ever watch Snitch's stream, he's like, for the most part, chill. For the most part. There's a couple of things that'll set Snitch off. And then he'll have to go and do his daily crossword, which I am a crossword enjoyer for Snitch. He does crosswords normally, and like Wordle. He does both. I'm a slightly older school Snitch enjoyer, where Wordle, the like triple stack, didn't exist when he was playing it. So I'm part of the crew that helped with his crosswords. But Snitch from a mid lane is so solid. I think even if Veos gets an assassin, I think Snitch makes so few mistakes that there are not many opportunities to actually punish through the middle lane. So like Veos is going to have to rely on roaming and trying to pick off on the side lane is my anticipation of how you make play work against RixGG as a mid laner.
I also don't want to see Garen again. Like I feel like champions like Darius are a little bit more aggressive, fit Acolyte better than Garen, but whom I feel is more passive. Like it has a different kind of, what am I saying? A different kind of energy.
I get that.
Yeah, aggressiveness, let's say.
I get that. I think that's a difficult position from Queso, right? And this is how draft dynamics work, and this is one of my favorite things. In my 10 years of doing League of Legends, one of my favorite things is draft, because there are moments where you'll really have no options. And Garen in draft 1 from Queso, in my opinion, was only picked because you need to basically blind pick your top lane. When you're playing blue side and you haven't seen both solo laners already, and RixGG had Gragas, remember, as a flex around top lane, you have to pick something that can play both in your composition and doesn't get stomped in lane as well. Unfortunately, Random's like, yeah, I can play Vayne. which into Garen is in a vacuum. That matchup is pretty horrific, and that I can see from Garen's perspective. So like Queso were kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. They needed something, and Darius in days gone by would have been a great pick, but I think the nerfs probably hit him too hard. That there are a few different champions that can kind of walk into lane and be fine that aren't just called Vayne.
I mean, will Vayne be banned? Will Vayne
I don't think
banned if it, I don't think so, because of quite a particular pick, but I can definitely see all the teams doing so, just because, I mean, if she doesn't show up, it's okay, but if it does appear on the bond, you're like, okay, this is going down the drain.
I'm expecting our sides to swap now. I'm expecting Team Queso in their loss. Of course, losers do get the opportunity to side select for the following game. I'm expecting Queso to go red side. Red side, for me, feels incredibly strong right now. The way that there are a lot of power picks available. Gragas is one of them that you could just sit on until last pick. People are going to get really bored of me saying that over the next 4 days, where I'm like, Gragas is so good that if it's available on rotation 1 on red side, you're always going to take it.
Aww.
No reason not to. Rakan taken away. That's going to be RixGG banning it. Fantastic pick for Clue so far, but obviously to them, not first pick priority going into a clean draft.
This leaves Team Queso having to run Karma as per usual during this tournament. Let's remember, she's really strong. She was released in the latest patch. And so it's going to be Olaf and Camille kind of repeating the latest bans from last game. But that also leaves the option open of, like, Darius was open last time, for example. And I know he's been nerfed, but if you ban him, it's because you truly believe he's got a chance.
Yuumi pretty good, and in general, we've seen Queso play it as well. So taken off the board for this game. We'll see what RixGG have got. We'll see what RixGG went for their first pick. Graves is up, and they have flexed it before. We've seen random play it. Okay, it's going to be blue side Gragas. So we're flexing on blue side for now. Similar principle on red side. You just hold it for later on in the draft. However, Queso will always have the last pick potential. So we'll see where RixGG can ramp up the pressure in their solo lanes. For Queso now, Jax again.
No.
It could be the Jax again. It might very well make sense. Lulu obviously opens up a couple of other picks like Vayne from the bottom lane if it's going to support. But they may very well flex between mid and bot now for support on this Lulu.
Please.
There's the Jax.
There's a Jax once again. I mean, I know Elka talked about how the composition wasn't executed the way they wanted and that the early was kind of weak, but this is kind of honestly driving to the same place.
Yeah, it really is. We're 4 picks in and we've got exactly the same draft so far. I think Queso are going to swap this up and put this Lulu support depending on what they see from RixGG. It really depends now on what bot lane you pair with this Lulu. Irelia finds her way through the draft this time. It was a difference that we didn't see in the last game. That could be going mid lane or in the jungle. I doubt it'll be top lane, but Seven, I imagine, can play that Irelia jungle we've seen a few times.
I think it'll go to Snitch though. And whoa!
Singed support coming through on top of this. So when you've got an Irelia who's high mobility, when you've got a Gragas who wants to land that body slam, now you're bringing a little extra in the bag of tricks in there. That would imply that Lulu is going in the bottom lane.
Remember the #1 rule in Wild Rift and, well, League of Legends as well?
Don't chase Singed. It's an oldie, but a goodie.
I mean, it always works because as soon as you start doing that, the poison trail is gonna just slow you down, cause the poisonous effects, and then the fling just throw himself behind you, and it can also work quite well if you've got champions who are gonna be chasing you. But going on with the bans, the Morgana is gonna be banned this time around. Don't know why, to be honest. And the Gallia for Team Queso, they ban it themselves.
It's an interesting one because with Shen off the board now as well, I kind of expect Queso to 4-pick their top lane as something blind pickable, and then kind of work out whether they can play something like a Jinx. I was going to say a Vayne. It's banned this time because we know Joey's a Vayne player. Vayne, Lulu, very strong.
Yeah.
Jinx is another one of those lanes. These carries that can scale later on, like a Kai'Sa potentially. Not the best synergy with Lulu, but she can protect very well to bring an additional threat. I don't want to see Queso draft an Enchanter here to try and play protect Andre again.
Oh, Corki, that was my third choice here. After Morgana and Varus, Corki is the most played champion by Joey at the WREC. It can work quite well with this composition with Valkyrie, just fling with Sing to use the Valkyrie with Corki, and then it can be amazing, to be honest. So you've got 2 couples that work really well. Lulu and Jackson then synced and Corky. We'll have to see what the last pick for them will be. I mean, Acolyte has plenty of options open for himself. So again, it's a matter of what do you think will fit better? Maybe something tanky.
Is that really a Nasus from RixGG? Is it? There was a little bit of a delay on that pick, so I'm just gonna like look over my shoulder. I'm not seeing referees go to them, so that actually is a Nasus picked up, likely for the top lane. Snitch gonna be on that Gragas. I'm surprised I can't hear Hell's Devil from here talking about random playing Nasus in the top lane. We'll touch on that as we go through the draft, but Queso now surely will last pick their top lane, and a matchup against Nasus. I mean, early game is where you'd be looking, because Nasus kind of just likes to scale. Oh, we're having a thematic matchup with that Renekton pick top lane. Now, Renekton in the early game will have control, but does get heavily outscaled by Nasus.
Indeed. Now, if the top lane is going to be more passive, as we can expect, because it'll be farming, then what we can look at are, for example, the junglers. In this case, you can go with Gragas, for example. That could be an option. But most likely, we'll have an... Well, actually, since CI7 is playing, I'm torn between Irelia, whom I'm assuming will go to the mid lane. Of course, Braum and Varus are going to the Dragon lane. And then Gragas, once again, you can send him to the jungle. So I'm guessing that's how it's going to be. So what you got here for RixGG is a composition that is really well-rounded. You've got Vanguard set for Irelia to set up this scene in the team fights against the enemies. You've got a Nasus and a Braum for the tankiness. You've got a random on Gragas to initiate. So I think they can do this quite well, but in front of them they've got Team Queso, and again, according to the picks they've got, you've got the Renekton that to just call the make, kind of get the enemy in your comfort zone, and maybe the Lulu can do something there with the Jax. We have to see this stress, but for now, what team are you rooting for?
I still think RixGG are going to take this. I think it is going to be a 2-0 looking at this. That kind of is dependent on whether this Irelia is mid or in jungle. I kind of want to see it jungle, not for any reason other than I want to see Seven play it. Like, I have really like no real knowledge of that matchup. Not being a jungler, I'm like, ooh, Irelia jungle seems like it needs to snowball really heavily, which I was talking to DP a little bit about it, and we'll touch on this as we get into the game. It's not as reliant on snowballing heavily. It is going to be Irelia jungle, so I get my wish. And down into the bottom lane, we're once again seeing RixGG assert dominance early on with this Varus. They are so comfortable playing this pick that it is not a surprise to see RixGG looking to put the pressure on level 1.
Yeah, but at the same time, you've got the Corki and the Lulu to be able to protect him in the end. It's going to be Singed mid lane for Bayos. And as his first moments go by, again, I just think it like Team Queso's composition has so much of an outplay and playmaker potential that I wish we saw that. But for now, we have to stay here. Maybe they're looking for a first kill, you know, just who is in the area in order to help them. And as you can see, Andres has started in the top lane. What's happening?
Can I just point out, Seven did Krugs and then was just like, sure, I'll try and gank.
Yeah, it was a little bit like...
Corki and Lulu were pushing up. Seven didn't even have a buff. Seven was like, there's an opportunity here if they push up in lane. Queso kind of read it and understood. That is going to give Andre a really quick clear through this starting portion of the game, with the fact that Seven tried to gank a little earlier. Andre now going to take this top crab. I want to touch on this Nasus, because we don't see a whole lot of Nasus play, and we definitely don't see a lot of Nasus solo lane. I don't even know whether I get an opportunity. Clue actually in a rough spot after flashing forward. Nasus's Wither attack speed debuff, I wonder whether that's one of the reasons that they picked it, because Andre is reliant on fast attack speed coming through with his empowered auto abilities. Yeah, so random throwing down Wither, denying Andre the ability to get away. One thing they have to be careful of is Acolyte with Blade of the Rune King build can put damage out pretty early on, but this is a matchup that I've only played a handful of times, and Nasus kind of just takes over once he has a bunch of stacks. It can be difficult if Renekton snowballs on you, but who snowballs on random? We're going to find out, because Acolyte hits level 5 early, has that Dominus available, but can't quite find it in position. Random playing this weak side way too well for Queso to pick up a kill in top side.
Not only that, but you try to gank, well, your wave is so pushed back, it will take a while for it to get to the tower in order for you to be comfortable ganking and or tasing. So not best move here by Andres. We'll have to see where he goes next, because bot lane doesn't seem to be struggling. The mid lane, I think that this is just being very careful. And as we see the first goal coming up and first atomizations, we can see that Acolyte has such an advantage over Random.
That's expected. I would expect that in this matchup, but you always have to take into account when you're playing a Nasus, is like there's going to be a gold deficit, but how much are you making up with farming your Siphoning Strike? Because the more you invest in that, the more powerful you will be in the late game. And if Random runs out of the top lane and has just been farming Siphoning Strike the entire game and no one kills him and no one puts the pressure on, that Nasus will two-shot Joey and Andre as soon as that Counter-Strike is down.
Ooh, okay, 3 minutes in, no kills so far for either team. Of course, if there are no kills, no kill has killed anyone, but objectives are coming up. You can see how both teams have retreated back to base. Team Queso is coming back now from these, buying some itemizations, you know, just trying to get a little bit of AP there in both the mid lane and the, well, of course, Lulu, as we expect Caulfield's going on over that for Doom. And now that you see this, if you look at Andres, he's on the top side of the map, closer to the Herald, but so is Clue. So I think this is going to be a division of objectives if things go as planned, which is not what happened in the last game. RixGG took both Herald and Dragon comfortably, and I think Team Queso is in a position to fight this time around.
Yeah, RixGG are focusing towards that Dragon. There is a ward on it. We'll see whether they clear it out. Yeah. So we aren't yet at the Blade of the Rune King point for Acolyte, so we can't push the advantage as much as he would, of course. For those of you that don't play a whole lot of Renekton, that empowered ability too with Blade of the Rune King is really strong, and now Random has been shoved in under tower. Only one cannon minion though, so if he can take that out, he will pop the ultimate early. Wither Redemption is going to try and survive through. Wither is going to keep him in place, but they have not done enough damage up front. Random is trying to get away. Clue with the save. They've got the first blood going over to the support, and it's been Queso throwing everything under this tower to try and get multiple kills. Dragon has already gone over to RixGG. Weather through most of that storm, but it is a double kill that goes over to Joey in that exchange.
A double kill there, but at the same time you're exposing your root help, which RixGG was pinging towards, and that mid lane tower is also quite vulnerable right now. Oh my gosh!
Ooh, Doom is a little too far under the tower. Seven's gonna go in, trying to get the kills. Counter-Strike doesn't lock him in place. Oh, good explosive cast from Snitch to save the day. Rix, an uncharacteristic moment of over-aggression, and Queso kind of punished them with a couple of summoners, but look, it's the gold advantage going over to Queso off that exchange. They got themselves first tower of the game.
They did, they got themselves 2 kills as well. Vegas is going to be in a vulnerable position right now, not having Ignite or Flash. So they'll have to play a little bit carefully. The Herald is up for the taking right here, and we'll see if they can fight this.
RixGG here, Andre's just going to smite it, jump back over the wall. This is the best start that Queso could hope for right now. Like I was saying, I thought it was going to be Rix 2-0, and Queso were coming out early and fighting them. I want to see Acolyte keep the pressure on Random. Random right now is receiving minions in the top lane, and it's Veos that is there to try and dissuade him. I don't know that a Singed can really threaten a Nasus. You kind of just run away. You wither the Singed tries to chase you, you run away.
Yeah, and I mean, if you try, there the goes
but
playing.
You get flipped, but now Veos has put himself close enough that SC7's going to come up here. Stun doesn't land. It forced him away from the tower. Big kill for RixGG. And this is the problem with this lane assignment, is I don't know whether Acolyte can actually force away RixGG from that lane. However, Rift Herald bottom lane is going to open up a tower push.
However, the lane is going to be arriving a little bit later than expected. Perhaps not the best situation. Also, what is happening with CA7, Random getting the turret hit?
Yeah, they're trying to get Random as much gold here and just push it down under the turret so we can Siphoning Strike that, just take the turret. So Random staying relevant in this game. Acolyte is about 700 gold up.
Definitely with the Blade of the Rune King already, which talk about Divine Thunder, by the way, for Andres said, which as we know gives you more physical damage depending on the health that the enemy does have. So it'll be quite interesting seeing him scale, realize that for Veos, and again, kind of AP, a mix of AP and attack damage. But what I'm wondering is what the next move will be. Team Queso seems to be focusing on top lane. They've got quite a good opening right there, but RixGG does seem to have the same idea. They want to protect this at all costs, and they're doing so with a vision. But it could be an interesting matchup.
Oh, that is a little too far forward for Queso, and Doom punishes. That's a double kill clean from the RixGG duo lane, taking out the mid lane champions and now opening themselves up. Now, this is going to basically force Veos to react through the middle lane and give Random the ability to kind of cut up through the jungle as well and block his path. Now Veos has to deal with Random, who has at least enough items to be able to take this trade. Look at it, 2 shots already, and it's already half the health. However, Doom is caught by Andre and Acolyte in the middle lane. Good pick off on response from Queso. Now they found Random. Random going to be forced to use his ultimate. Has that barrier available if he needs it. Andre, Counter-Strike once again, looking for the stun. It's a kill from the Singe. Does the package gets Joey in time? Queso have picked up a big pick-off onto 7, and it's an even game back and forth. Queso maintain their lead for now, with Dragon coming up in 15 seconds.
This was kind of clutch for them. You had several champions low on life. Vegas was arriving, but Singed is not a range champion that allows you to just play from afar, like Corki, for example. So I'm really glad that this worked for them. We can see it right here. Acolyte and Dress start out the team fight. Vegas race a little bit later with the poison trail just in case RixGG is following them. And then RixGG gets kind of isolated behind the wall, while Team Queso can keep on pushing comfortably and getting the kill onto C7. So really properly executed. I'm hoping to see more of this in the future.
And we're sitting in that moment of the game where Renekton is like as strong as he can be. This is kind of that point where Acolyte can really put the pressure on. Veos is going to proto belt out, will get caught. Redemption forces the flash out as well. Veos gets taken out. Not the most comfortable series for Veos. He's been on the Lulu, he's been on the Singe. These champions are so far away from his mobile assassins that he normally plays, and Queso are going to rely heavily now on Acolyte to be able to take this dragon. They've started it up with a numbers disadvantage. Ooh, nearly good timing from Snitch on the steal, but Queso come away with that with the Ocean Drake. Random has pushed all the way up to the tower and popped his ultimate for the extra damage, as Andre has been caught from the Chains of Corruption, and RixGG are getting quite a lot from this. Andre will jump out with the help of Methanaut's Lulu, and Random did not get that tower in the top lane and forced the ultimate out. Now Acolyte has pushed him away from the lane. Queso received that push and forced RixGG to use a lot of abilities and summoners.
Definitely, which is going to leave them in a good position in order to just keep on pushing themselves. Right now, they have to retreat, get back to optimization. You've got the Black Cleaver, that Divine Thunder going on for Random, which is going to be, again, quite useful here. Luden's Echo going over to Snitch on Gragas. Always good to have a little bit more of AP. And as things are building up, Yomu's Blade going for Doom, by the way, was one of the items buffed in the latest patch, which we didn't talk about. So we've got quite a good variety here, and I am expecting, no objectives on the Rift right now. This is a time when teams have to decide what to do, and I think Andreas has an idea.
Andre is going to back himself away, dodges out the ultimate from 7. 7 flashed in, I think, for that, looking at the summoner cooldown. As I was busy checking the items that you were talking about. I wouldn't be surprised to see Cyrilda's Grudge. We see it a lot from Varus anyway, but it'll help Random stick on people, getting that slow to land, forcing people kind of into Nasus's path is one of the ways that a Varus can have impact in the late game. Varus, in the late game, does end up falling off against a lot of tanks. So when you've got a fed Renekton and a Singed potentially in front of you, it can be really difficult to get Varus to work. But Doom has shown such a high competence on a champion like Varus, where he has full control over this middle lane. It's one of the things that gives RixGG such good objective control. And Veos, it's going to be a lot of flinging and flipping and trying to wither around as Random is trying to get himself away. RixGG have taken mid tower from this. The fling! No way! Veos, did he actually just save Random from that exchange as Joey drops low? No way! Is Random still alive? No way have RixGG got away with this. Random desperately getting away as Acolyte is now in the fight from this. RixGG's health bars are dropping low, and Acolyte is oh so healthy. It's Andre to fall as Doom has put the damage out, but this Renekton is gonna clean through the Queso lineup. They're screaming in the studio, and it's an ace. Nearly an ace in favor of Queso. Random is trying to open up through the middle lane. It was 4 picks in favor of Queso.
Well, if that wasn't a game-turning team fight right there. Acolyte once again showing when he is needed, which he absolutely had. Of course, all summoners being burned by Team Queso, but we can replay it here. Team Queso was approaching from the top side. The Glacial Fissure to keep Joey kind of rooted for a while. Acolyte keeps being, you know, here, like, he gets a stunt, and so is Jax. But there we go. Here is the turning point right here. They've got the blue still dealing damage there. Acolyte with the Decimate getting the kill onto the enemy team, onto RixGG. And now it's all up for them to just pick up the remainders and get on with the game, which is so benefiting to them. They're 3k in gold ahead.
It's so key that Random was low health for the majority of that fight.
Yeah.
Nasus loves fights like that where you can just run around with Siphoning Strike and just hit people. But he couldn't get in the fight, and Veos, it's been such a rough series to Veos on the Lulu and the Singed, but that fight, he played defense. He just said, no, there's no way you can get past the poison trail. You cannot get into this fight, and it allowed Joey and the rest of Team Queso to take advantage of maybe the first real opportunity for Queso to take full control of this second game in the series.
Acolyte.
RixGG have already taken mid tower though, and that is one of the struggles now for Queso, is they have to be able to break mid tower. Otherwise, they can't really get control of this Dragon Pit. They're going to try and rush it down, or at least start it. But look, vision control from the Crab makes it difficult for Queso to take this unknown. Clue is trying to play that front line, trying to get them forward. The Mega Adhesive gets used by Veos to stop people jumping in, and Queso get themselves the Dragon. And they've managed to deter RixGG from this. That was a very, very tense but clean take from Queso, utilizing the Singed Adhesive in order to stop the engage from RixGG.
Yeah, but now, again, they've got to prepare for this because they're going to be attacking this tower.
Chains land onto Veos, and he's going to get dropped to begin this one. A 7 forced away from the back of the fight. Andre can't find the pick, but the tower has fallen. RixGG take the major objective from that and try and hold the gold close.
Ooh, it was a tricky play by Team Queso. I feel like they were too cornered by the tower. They were insistent on keeping it, but the tower was going to fall anyways. RixGG was committed, on the other hand, to taking the tower in exchange for the dragon that was stolen from them, I mean, it's like a minute ago. And again, now we're coming to a period of time when there are no objectives on site, which means that either the teams want to claim the waves, keep them pushed, particularly that mid-lane tower that you were talking about, which is not down for Team Queso still. And just so wait.
We've got a Nemesis duel.
We didn't talk about this
We
before.
didn't. We did not. I mean, I said it was thematically appropriate. We have a Nemesis duel active. So the next time that Nasus and Renekton are involved in a kill against each other, we will have that triggered.
Wow. Okay, so this is one of the few chances that we've got to see this. I'm pretty sure
We got a Kha'Zix Rengar one a few weeks back.
Yeah, I remember that.
I never thought we'd get a Nasus Renekton. So, importantly, if Nasus wins, Siphoning Strike hits all enemies within a certain radius. The AoE damage goes through the roof. If Renekton wins, he stays at full fury for the duration of his ultimate. And those are significant changes. Like, if Nasus Siphoning Strike does AoE damage, I don't even know what the heck's gonna happen.
This puts so much pressure on Random and Acolyte to do well, you know? It's not like any other matchup. This is actually telling you you need to perform properly in order to win this game. This might be in their hands right now. And as we can see, once again, Team Queso just clearing the camps, getting a little bit more experience, both, like all of them, most of them are on level 12. And there we go, it's rest.
This is the Coca-Cola pop-off, and Random had to pop off through the rest of the jungle as Team Queso finally coming back into it. This is the moment where Joey can kind of take control of this game again. We talked about the Renekton starting to fall off, Acolyte still having presence in these team fights, but Queso, hyped up from this team fight, has given them the opportunity to bounce back in this series. They are still 1-0 down against RixGG, but look, Queso with this Corki have played very well when they've had it available to them. And this is a game that has been a lot less on Andre's shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really good change. We were talking about it before, and we were like, what will happen if they swift the carry to some other player? And I was hoping to see Acolyte on the strong side for once. He's popping off, but at the same time, Joey and Methanol not still quite doing it yet. I feel like Joey has been doing quite well with the Corki, but they still need to see something else. But now that the objectives are going to be back on their Rift. That Baron is so looked after. Everyone wants it. The vision is strong there, and Acolyte could be getting out.
Oh, Random is caught by 4. This Nemesis duel is not a fair fight, as Random is going to get taken down. That's key. That's key. The assist, I believe, should... No, wait, hang on, Acolyte wasn't there. I was so convinced that all of Queso were there. That is not the Nemesis duel converted, so it'll have to be another kill onto Nasus for Queso to be able to take that. We get them so rarely that I'm so hyped for it, as that's a fling onto one target, forces out the stasis from 7, and Queso are going to try and take this fight while Random is still not alive for 30 seconds, and Queso have fought back in this game. Snitch is going to drop, couldn't survive through. 7 is going to drop as well for a double kill, and Queso erupt with cheers. They have done enough to take the Elder. They have done enough, surely, to take the Baron, but have they done enough to take game 2? I think they may very well have.
And most importantly, the mid lane tower that still hasn't fallen for RixGG. So still a standard.
It will fall. If Baron goes over to Queso, that tower will fall very quickly, and it's still 25 seconds on the death timers of 7 and Snitch. I think Queso just head right for this Baron, and that means RixGG have one fight left to hold this game. They're going aggressive. Oh, maybe there's not even one more fight as Doom has been caught. RixGG have done so good at stopping themselves from getting caught out, and RixGG are down. It's a rampage. It's a split ace across the team, and Queso will take themselves the Baron.
This is incredible by Team Queso. That take then the Baron. This opens up finally the towers that they need. So only 2 champions, only 2 players for RixGG alive. They can't do anything against this. And this is lifting Queso to push the waste comfortably, taking them away from them.
Oh, 7. Doesn't have 7 lives. He's out of this one. Queso, this is the end of the game. This is it. Queso are going to crush through with these minions. Surely they will be able to take full control. They will take an inner tower in the top lane. They will take themselves an inhib in the top lane as well. And Queso, oh, we told you it was going to be a 2-1. I thought it might have been a 2-0, but Queso are about to take the first game away from RixGG. It's going to be an even series, and Queso are going to make RixGG fight for it. 1-1 between Queso and RixGG.
Oh my gosh, that was a trepidant game. I wasn't expecting so. After people selling RixGG so much to me, I was like, okay, Team Queso is kind of doomed after this one game. But I feel like shifting again the focus away from Andres set has helped them immensely, because RixGG were looking forward to something else, and I feel like Team Queso didn't deliver. They delivered in a different way.
Yeah, I feel like that the shift up was still that, you know, Andre had a champion he could carry on. They still could have given him resources, but in this game, like Acolyte having a good lead, knowing that when you see Nasus on blue side blind into the lane is just a little too risky, in my opinion. I think Random was put in a really rough situation coming out of the draft in Game 2. We'll have to hear from our analysts a little later on after a quick break, as we're getting ready for our first map 3 of the WREC Finals.
through.
For the first time today, we are gonna get to have a third game in a best-of-3 series. Stuart, that's very exciting. But so far, we only got victories from the red side.
Very, very interesting. Random trivia of the day, you can call it. Yeah, that's what they call it. Yeah, only red side has won throughout the entire day. I think red side does have its advantages over blue side. You have that counter pick as a last pick as well. And I feel like there's just so many strong champions at the moment in Wild Rift that even though you get that first pick on blue side, I think you can just counter that with 2 other counter picks. And then, like I said, that last pick is the crucial thing, which came up important in this game with that Renekton on Acolyte.
Yeah, absolutely, because WREC really highlighted the top lane matchup, and it's delivering. Random hit in the first game. Acolyte absolutely smashing on Renekton this one.
I think Acolyte did such an amazing job on that Renekton, and I honestly thought that Nasus is, to be honest, a pretty good pick into Renekton right now, because he has the Divine Sandra right now. He's outscaling him, but even though he has this, Renekton, Acolyte, in those team fights, in the backline, he's just smashing them back and right, and they can't just do anything anymore. And I just feel like Acolyte did way more in those team fights, and Nasus itself, the pick, you want to stack a lot, and I just don't feel like he could make it work like I kind of thought the Nasus pick is gonna do.
And I'm especially sad about that because
we know you are. We know you are.
As many people may know, I am probably the biggest Nasus enjoyer from anyone. I love this champion, but unfortunately it just didn't work. And if someone makes it work, it's random, right? Like, this is the guy that's gonna make it work. Unfortunately, it didn't work here, and I don't want to make excuses. It just, it just feels like Nasus doesn't provide as much value as the others, right? Like, we saw Acolyte under Renekton diving those backlines, using the mobility that Renekton has. Nasus just wasn't able to match up against that.
The fact is that we were talking about the top laners, we were talking also about the reds and how important counter picks are. You're gonna get punished if you blind pick the Nasus.
Yeah, blind picking Nasus is super risky. I feel like maybe RixGG got a little bit too overconfident, which obviously we've seen before, that sometimes RixGG can kind of fall down. I feel like they just need to mental reset. They need to go into the next game and need to go back to how they were playing. Because to be honest, they were doing okay. Like, I think Team Queso had a little bit of an early lead, but it was a few oversteps. Like, Random overstepped a little bit too far, and it was Acolyte as well. Like WREC said, Acolyte onto the backline, onto Doom, and then just absolutely destroyed him as well on Renekton.
You know, at the beginning of the series, in the first analysis, as we were discussing about how to attack RixGG, what do you need to face this team, and it was all about the flexibility and having some aces under your sleeves. And WREC, Team Queso showed up those aces. They brought some stuff like the Singe in theirs, and it was crazy. It was a really good game from the mid lane.
I think what they did really well is just picking a team composition that just outscales RixGG. Like, for the first 10 minutes, the game was so even, but RixGG's team comp was just weaker scaling than Team Queso's. Like, Team Queso, they have the Corki pick, they have the Jax pick, like, and even Singe. Singe is one of the best scaling champions, and he has insane pick potential. Plus, with the Lulu, who can speed him up, he can catch people, and then Corki just doing so much damage from the backline, and Renekton in the front line hitting all of the backlines from RixGG as well. So I just feel like Team Queso had the better team comp, and they just executed it better later on in the game.
Like, we were adopting the Jax in the first game, but health. Imagine if he had a real weapon and not this.
Imagine if he had a real weapon indeed. We're seeing a lot of dominance coming from Jax as well, with the Lantern. Yeah, Jax has been a very high priority pick in these games, as we saw, and it's been working very well, especially for Andres, because Jax is one of those champions that works very well if you funnel a lot of gold into him. So, perfect pick for a team like Team Queso as well, and I'm excited to see what else they have up their sleeves.
Yeah, definitely. They delivered. Like, they showed they have something to deal with RixGG in this best of 3 series. Right now, guys, we're gonna check on the play of the game. This is crazy. I feel so powerful with me. Let's go into the play of the game. Like, oh my god, I feel the power of a split push in the palm of my hand. And we're watching. Yeah. I mean, Team Queso was like, they look like struggling in here, Stuart, but Absolutely no.
Yeah, this is the play that Random just got caught beforehand, and I think we were backstage. We were like, how is Random still alive?
Yes.
But because like Random stayed alive, he couldn't really do much in the team fight itself, and it allowed rest of Team Queso to capitalize on that mistake from Random. And then
Yes.
Acolyte in the backline, as you saw there as well, jumping on top of Doom. And when you're Varus, you don't have a lot of mobility as well. So it's really hard when you've got someone like Renekton jumping on the Varus. You can't really do too much at all, and you can see the players' reactions there as well. And like you said, you know, we finally got a 1-1, and it's going to go to the third and final game in this series.
You know, we're discussing the breaker behind the scenes about how important was Clue these series. This was the first time that he was out of Rakan, and even though I really like the prom he played, it feels like his team needed that, you know, that kind of playmaker champion to him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Clue on that Rakan was shining so much, but even on that Braum, he did such an amazing job being there in the places he needs to be. He might not be doing those crazy engages like he did on that Rakan, but he still had good peeling factors, using the ultimate to peel and just being there when his team needs to be in the top lane, in the bot lane, etc.
So guys, enough chat for now, because we need to get to decide which team is going to take this series. So Stress, Carmeline, all for you. I'm taking this. I'm going to split push a bit.
Security. Security.
No.
She's stealing it.
Go
She's
back.
stealing the prop. She's gone.
go.
She's going. She's going to split push away and see whether she can kind of make it through a 2-1 series. So, I mean, some interesting stuff happens here if Queso wins. So, Stress joined by Carmeline for our third game between RixGG and Queso. So, if Queso win, but then lose to NASA, we have a 3-way tie, which we'll then need to double check the rulebook, because I haven't read the rulebook, to see whether it's determined by match score or whether we play a 3-team tie. I know that if everything is tied, there are tiebreaker games at the end. However, we'll get somebody much smarter than me to figure that out, and we'll give you the update. However, the easy one is, if RixGG win this game, then the winner of our next series will go through to Group B matchups on day 3. So, I made that about as confusing as it shouldn't need to be, so let's just focus on what's happened in this series. 1-1. Game 1 was all about Andre. Game 2 was almost nothing about Andre, but not in a bad way. Like, Queso just had Acolyte for the early game, Joey for the late game.
Yeah, and I think that was a really nice change, but I think RixGG didn't quite know how to reply to that. I feel like they were still kind of stuck on the old Andres kind of thing, which is not going there anymore. Maybe it'll come back here. I'm also surprised about the choice of Lulu. I thought it was going to be a complete disaster, and in the end it wasn't, so I'm glad about it. But looking at RixGG right now, they're in a dangerous position. You've lost one game, your mental can be... It depends on the team, right? But many players here do have LAN experience. I'm not expecting that to be a problem. But again, right now, this can be nerve-wracking. This is the third game. It's all or nothing. You either get first seed or you get second seed and have to face the first seed of the Group B. I think I made it as confusing as you said before.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing, is if RixGG get first, you theoretically are dodging game lord. Because I think Group A...
I didn't want to say so.
No, it's fine. I'll say it. I'll happily say this. I think Group A is our closer group. I think Formulation looked better today than we were expecting them to look, but I still am expecting Game Lord to make it through both series and be the first seed out of Group B. One thing that I want to touch on today for this game as we go into Game 3, every game today has been won on Red side so far. Red side has a 100% win rate up until this point, and it really goes to the strength of being able to flex picks and be able to kind of, you know, in this way they showed the Lulu in game 2 for Queso after a disastrous game 1, and then go, actually this Lulu's going down into the bottom lane. We have that ability later on in the draft to swap it around. So I'm expecting teams for the rest of the weekend to prioritize Red side where they can.
I think it's so different, right? Because usually you will expect blue side due to the first weekend, that kind of thing. But when it comes to the red side, as you said, 100% win rate, and I think it's because it gives you so much ability to just reply back to what the enemy is proposing, and that's an incredible, powerful ability to have.
Yeah, like in PC, the way that the meta works for drafting is like typically there's like 1 or 2 after the draft picks that are so strong that you have to pick them on blue side.
You need them quickly.
In Wild Rift, we've got like 17. Like you have 6 bans, and then you still get 2 good picks on red side every single time, without fail. If you ever see a team drafting bad picks on spot 1 and 2 on red side, I'm like, somebody's getting fired. How have you drafted that bad? We're going into game 3 between Team Queso and RixGG, and surprise, surprise, RixGG have picked red side, which means they have to ban Karma, but then they get access to basically the entire draft phase going in their favor as long as they've done their prep.
Okay, so Jay is the first ban here for Team Queso. We haven't been able to see Jay for 1 or 2 games today, as we were predicting Karma being banned by RixGG. And now it's time to truly show, have they learned anything from last game? Are there any picks that they truly want to get out of the table before they can pick it? Team Queso really has some cards, and
they really don't want that counter pick. That might be that Queso are going to first pick a Garen or something like that. I don't know whether they will, but RixGG are likely to take away the Olaf from this draft as the last ban. Game 1, they banned Karma, Camille, Olaf. I think it will stay the same. Queso in game 1 banned Jace, Irelia, and Riven. So with the Vayne coming in, it's going to remove some of that counter pick from Random. But to be honest, Random has other counter picks. I'm not so fussed on the Vayne that there are no other options. It's Queso that banned the Jax, the pick that they have honed in on.
Okay, so here's what the conspiracies begin, right? And if you think about it, Jax is not, it's mechanically complex, but he's not like super specific champion that you really to be a god type player to play so giving it to SA7 will be quite dangerous for them. So instead, we've won it ourselves.
Is this like Gragas or Lee? Like, I know Lee Sin's not normally this high priority, but I'm like, if you're expecting a jungle matchup, do you have to all in on your jungle this early, like a Kazik? Okay, it's Gragas. I was being a little dumb about that. Gragas on blue side, I think we've seen him shoot up in priority just because of how strong it is to flex it till last.
Okay, so Gragas' first pick, once again, he's been appearing for the entire series. Really powerful pick right now, and Rakan is going to go over to RixGG, which again, it provides a good size of engage. He also has the quickness as the ultimate, which allows you to get just, around a small area quite quickly. So essentially, loads of mobility, shields, protection, a little bit of tankiness too. And I think it's a good start for RixGG, to be honest. Now, what will Team Queso pick next? Again, I expect Vayus to have some sort of assassin in his hands, but first,
it's a potential jungle pick, because otherwise the jungle pool is going to get pinched. If you pick something like that's definitely mid lane or a solo lane or an AD carry, the pool's going to get pinched, and Vayus is going to be on Singed duty again. Singed into the Irelia. We've seen Irelia sometimes struggle with that. We have not seen the matchup too much here in Europe, but we've seen it a handful of times today for that Singed in the middle lane, and we'll see what Queso are going to round this out. So they're not going all in on the composition around Andre, unless... Yeah, I mean, that Gragas could be going anywhere. That's going to be Corki picked up for Joey. Clearly, Queso feel a lot more confident after their game 2 win of just drafting right towards that lineup again.
Yeah, and I think it's a good choice. If it works, why change it? I mean, to be less predictable. But if I had to say so, right now, they've got a little bit of everything again. They've got some AP, they've got some AD, and we're going to go with Orianna, actually, for RixGG, which is, I think Orianna, I haven't seen her, like...
Is this Doom back on mage duty? Doom's Orianna is great. I think it's not as good as some of the other picks that are possible, and it's definitely what I don't... It's not what I like to see Doom playing, but I think it should be a fine pick for him. Renekton taken away, I think it's a good opportunity now to take away blind pickable top laners. Queso are going to have to pick something blind. I don't think it's going to be the RixGG that that Team Queso showed us. I have lost my words. It's not going to be the Nasus that RixGG showed us in the last game.
It's okay, Shakespeare. We understand what you're saying. But and they are taking the time, I think. And Shen will be the next victim out of these bans for Team Queso. It's a really powerful pick right now. It gives you so much macro possibilities, which RixGG is really good at exploiting that macro gameplay. So if you take it away from them, again, it's a little bit of like a direct attack to the playcell.
You know what? I am seeing a ton of magic damage from Queso here.
That is,
and
yes.
I wonder whether there's room for a last pick Mundo from RixGG. which would be totally out of the meta. We've seen a little bit of Mundo recently, just in general. Don't see it too much, but against heavy magic damage compositions, because remember, Corki's damage, some of it is converted to magic. Singed is magic. Gragas is magic.
Yeah.
So, depending on where mid lane goes, Acolyte's actually going to ban away the Darius himself here. One of his key picks that we've seen. I would guess Queso will draft the Garen if they're picking a blind top laner, and RixGG will likely go jungle here unless it's Irelia jungle. There's a lot of flexibility still with RixGG's composition that, as you said, on red side, it's hard to kind of determine everything until the end.
Yeah, it's... I mean... I think WREC, one of the best qualities this game has is the flexibility that we constantly talk about, like how anyone can go anywhere, even the players, and we are going to be seeing our Tristana.
Which means it's Snitch likely on the Orianna in mid lane to play a PC-esque champion mid, which likely means that's Irelia jungle. We kind of anticipated that. So now Queso are going to show us what they're playing from the top lane, show us what they're playing from the jungle. A jungle matchup, wouldn't be surprised to see Andre taking a Kha'Zix or a Lee Sin. However, we know that they're a lot of early game focused for Andre. No real problems there. I think Queso have a lot of faith in the likes of a Kha'Zix for Andre. As predicted, he's going to pick up the bug.
I mean, if you have to ban Darius yourself, let's go with your favorite pick. Why not? So right now, just one pick to go for Team Queso, and again, they don't quite have a top lane.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Garen. Unless Gragas is going top lane and we get a mid lane pick here.
I don't want Garen though.
Ooh, yes, okay, we're going to get a mid lane pick, I would imagine, here of this Lucian. We've seen Snitch play Lucian in the mid lane. I'm going to guess that's Veos. No, wait, hang on. Singed is the mid lane, so Lucian top lane then at that point. So now we get to see what Random is going to bring out in the 1 versus 1. Unless Corki is going crazy somewhere and Singed is going up in the top lane. It's a Morgana. Could be jungle. I'm going to just let this draft get into game and see where everything's going.
Morgana is the only champion that we can't really know where he's going. The rest of them, the entirety of the Kha'Zix, potentially going to the jungle as well. But besides that, it's going to be quite confusing here, making out where each one of them are going. I think both teams have stepped out of the comfort zone for a little bit, just trying to get, the enemy to feel a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit confused as well, just innovating, These are the kind of picks that you can imagine in the scrims, that usually don't get liquid, in which a team has been playing for, just say, Lucian top lane.
Yeah, scrim culture, though, and stage culture is very, very different. This is something that just happens in general throughout history. Is like scrim picks, you get these picks that are really heavy about snowballing, lane advantages, controlling the game because you push leads with a champion like Lucian, who, as long as the champion's not overtuned, generally doesn't fit too well in the competitive meta at all times. We've seen a little bit of Lucian come through, but the picks that need to snowball heavily and rely on snowballing, when you play them here in an offline environment on the stage, you tend to pick up fewer kills in the early game compared to scrims where everybody just throws everything against the wall and it's like 20 kills at 5 minutes into the game. It's a different type of game. However, I think RixGG and Queso will be well prepared for this situation. I really am looking forward to seeing what the lineups are actually going to be as we get into the game, because there are multiple champions on both sides that can play multiple roles in this matchup.
Which just makes it spicy for Game 3 of this series between RixGG and Team Queso. By the way, going to the game now, and the picks have been... Oh, whoa. Okay.
Okay, so it's Morg jungle from the side of RixGG, with Orianna mid lane and Irelia in the top lane. Acolyte going to be playing ranged into melee. We'll see how Random can actually play that lane out. It's going to be Singed as expected in the middle lane. Methanol playing that Gragas down in support. And of course, we knew it was going to be Kha'Zix in the jungle. Clue jumps in, takes damage on the back end of the trade. It's just going to be a little bit more standard of a matchup in the bottom lane. I say standard, but the Tristana throws a little bit of a difference into the mix for RixGG. We did see a Tristana in our first series of the day, though, and it's been rising a little bit in priority.
Yeah, but if Tristana tries to use a rocket jump, then you've got Gragas to dissuade her quite easily there, which could lead to an overturn in the play they're trying to make. However, for the time being, I think they've got a little bit of an advantage if Team Queso has got quite a good wave clear here, at least in the early minutes of the game. And Acolyte and Lucian, I think we've never seen that for him.
It's definitely a different type of pick that we haven't seen in the WREC for Acolyte. We kind of anticipate him being a little bit more on the bruises. Lucian is a at least historically, has been about getting like lane advantages, being kind of like an actual carry threat for a team. Of course, has the downsides of being an AD carry at all times, right? He's squishy. He will die if he doesn't have his dash and his flash available. So Acolyte's going to have to play this one carefully if RixGG start putting attention up towards him.
Ooh, and for now, it seems like we're going to have the first action of the game.
Yeah, Seven has the black shield for himself, so stops a lot of the crowd control. Does force the
no,
flashes.
no,
Veos is going to flash after him. It's don't chase the Singe, but don't chase the Morgana. Oh, Random's getting gifted. Veos. It's actually Snitch that picks up first blood of the game. A little too far forward from Veos, and Andre now forced to jump out over the wall, but that did not go the way Queso wanted.
What was Veos doing there alone? I know I think that you have the healing, you've got the fling and so on, but we are just like so early into the game that it's not worth chasing them on the tower alone.
Yeah, I think it looked like he either misread the timing on the black shield or just thought he was going to be close enough to be able to make sure he got that fling eventually. Took 2 tower shots, Veos ends up dropping. Unfortunately for Veos, those are the 50-50 coin flip plays that RixGG are oh so good at absorbing.
And this is gonna be a make it or break it right now, as Team Queso has to retreat slightly. The bot lane here is quite equal, like, you know, even for both of them. And honestly, Veos, you stick to the mid lane for the time being a little bit, wait for Andre's set to be there, because as you can see, RixGG has got quite a good vision around the map, so you don't want to venture into the river or into the enemy jungle just because, just randomly. You're gonna get caught, and with both junglers putting so much attention right now into this mid lane and dragon lane, it's very risky.
Yeah, there is a decent amount of risk involved in that situation. So taking a look, game slowed down just a little bit from that first blood. 30 seconds still, the objectives are spawning. We're going to get the recalls out as always. I feel bad for Veos a little bit in this series.
Why?
This is now game 3 where he's playing these different style champions. It's a real departure for Queso, where I feel like he's just been given some difficult matchups, and against Snitch, that's really harsh. Because look, like Snitch is like 700 gold up on him because that first blood, and now Orianna, we know she scales well into the late game. We know she's good at dealing damage, crowd control in team fights, even the shield coming out from it. I think Snitch is in the kind of position that Snitch loves to be in, where he can carry this matchup, but all he's got to do is set Doom up for a pentakill.
No.
Maybe I'm calling it. Am I calling my shot here that it's Doom in a pentakill for Tristana? He did it with Jinx. I didn't get to cast those games. I'm so jealous. Excoundrel, who unfortunately on holiday, so can't join us here in Barcelona today, got both pentakills from Doom, and I am so jealous. That's why I actually made sure he couldn't move his holiday, so that any pentakills I get. Yeah, pretty much.
You're being salty. I can't. Whoa,
quickness denied immediately as Methanor gets the body slam. However, Clue finds his way through the rest of the fight, and RixGG's been able to turn it back away. Oh, it's stolen away from RixGG. Random was the one to pick it up. It's a double kill going over to Joey, but Acolyte, surely he can get that kill. Does get the flash away to keep himself alive. Joey picks up a triple kill. And despite the fact that RixGG have the gold lead, that is great for that bot lane carry from Queso.
Now, this gives the advantage of finally pushing both the mid lane and top lane, which in last game were resisting them. Well, we can see here the quickness, as we said, from the enemy, from the Rakan. And there you can see Veos keeps on flinging and doing his thing here on his Snitch, which forces Snitch to get out of the team fight. And then Acolyte gets lonely here, gets killed right there. But again, that works in Team Queso's favor in the end.
Doom just got a full tower of gold, but he's not ahead of Joey, who got 3 kills. So Doom doing his best to catch up on that.
By the way, Hullbreaker finally making an appearance here.
Hullbreaker, yeah, on Acolyte on Lucian. However, we've got an exchange in the middle lane. Binding lands, 7 picks up the kill, and RixGG make that look a little too easy for Methanor. A little bit of a return from attempting to stop that fight from earlier. Yeah, Hullbreaker Lucian means he's going to really be able to take control of the side lane, but don't know. There's a Queso kind of want to play around Joey with the gold that they just gave him, and like team fighting is one of Corki's main strengths. So if Queso can win both the 4-man stack and then have the advantage on the side lane with Acolyte with this Hullbreaker, Queso can take control of this game very quickly. Oh, whoa. Random is in a tough spot. Can he land the stun? Oh, stuns them both. Doesn't matter as Joey manages to get himself away. Clue can't do enough to get there in time, and RixGG will stop the tower push. But good play from Queso to take out Random, but that was a good stun. Nearly kept him alive.
But it's giving all the information to RixGG that Team Queso is in top lane, which are going there right now.
On player cameras, Random is fed up. He literally just like slammed his, like raised his hands and slammed them against the pillow. He is really frustrated at this focus going towards him, and we know that on a pick like Irelia, he doesn't want to be in a situation where he's got fewer kills than his opponent, right? He wants to snowball, he wants to carry from that lane, and up against this Lucian, it's going to be difficult from here.
It's gonna be complicated because, I mean, 1-1, it's not easy, and the kills have gone over to CH7, but on a Morgana, it's not the most ideal situation you've ever wanted to find yourself in, whereas the kills for Team Queso have gone over to Joey and Corki and Acolyte and Lucian, so much more efficient, I say. Now RixGG are using Herald here on the mid lane, which, I mean, it's a quite wise decision. Random about to die right there.
Andre has a ton of damage on this Kha'Zix. Knockup comes through. Clue's going to pick up 1 assist as SE7 is the one that gets the kill credit. Tower falls as Doom just hits it for that last little tap, and RixGG will extend their gold lead. It feels like a very close game, though. It feels like there are definitely moments where Queso can utilize some of the control they have over the Baron lane in order to stay in this game and give Joey a little more time to get into it. 3 kills has done very well for this Corki to start things out.
But he's given scaling, which I hope they give them the chance to do so. Now, RixGG, I think what they're proving in this series is that they're masters of objectives, including towers, including monsters. Both of them they are able to manage quite well when they've got a little bit of an advantage. Team Queso struggles a little bit more. You've got the Herald stolen right there by RixGG. So I'm hoping that they can improve this at least throughout this game, because it's crucial.
Objective control is what Ryu talked a lot in our first RixGG series of the day. He was talking a lot about how RixGG do a good job of setting up vision, utilizing the pressure they have on the map to then transfer it into objectives. And we've seen RixGG do that. Even in the games that they've been losing, I think RixGG have had the better objective control, but Queso have outfought them at times. And I think that's going to be another way of how this game could go. Clue, however, on this Rakan has looked so good, so clean. If he can find a team fight engage, he can really take control. But look at Andre flanking top side of your screen. He's in behind Clue. If he can find an isolated carry, he may very well be able to take it. But we've got flanks upon flanks as Doom is down beneath the team fight. He's going to push the turret, and RixGG are going to say, screw the Rift Herald. We got a Tristana who, with that explosive shot, can do it. Joey actually Valkyries into everybody with the package, immediately forces stasis, burns a lot of cooldowns on that, and is shredded out of the fight. As it's Tristana picking up the kill. Doom is going to punish the overstay, and RixGG took full control of the topside jungle to start this one out. But can Andre put the damage down on the back end? No, it's not enough, as Doom is going to jump in and land the damage down. Acolyte is baited by the stasis. RixGG ace Queso will take more objectives off that mid lane tower.
Wow. Okay, what a misplay. Had Doom pushing down. You were talking about the flanking, and that was right the key of this past team fight. Joey, as a Corki, you're not that strong. As Corki, you want to stay kind of away, and this was not the best choice. 1 quarter of his life was taken before he could actually join the team fight. The Valkyrie, they're not quite working quite properly, and without the main damage dealer in the team fight, things just go downhill. Each team member is trying to go in a different direction. Acolyte and Antisaid kind of try to group up together, but then again they get separated. I think this is a matter of synergy in this case, and not communicating properly, because otherwise you will stick together, not let Kha'Zix jump alone, and then do as that collide with the Lucian stay behind, you know.
Yeah, Joey packaged in. I think he got exhausted immediately by Snitch, if I read that replay correct. I wasn't watching properly at the beginning on what Snitch was doing, but they were trying to catch out Snitch, and I think Joey went in and was just like, we have a quick kill and get away. But Snitch is Orianna. Orianna is not a quick kill. Like, she has a shield for herself, she has an exhaust, she has an ultimate to keep herself safe, and she'll kill you in response. So I feel like Queso got baited into this engage in their jungle, and that's what RixGG do so well, is they were setting up, they knew they had full vision control, and Queso just cannot take a fight like that if they cannot guarantee they're going to get the kill.
Oh, it seems like they want more.
Yeah, there's the ball used for vision as well. Damage takes a quarter of Andre's health from this. And they have, however, found Random in the bottom lane. Stasis out. Veos is going to at least put the poison down. Oh, Random gets the solo kill on a 1v2. Oh, Queso, it's going so wrong. They feel like it's in front of them, and RixGG are out playing.
And now the Herald just to put the nail in the coffin here on this top lane tower. There's left to be open another window into the Nexus that for RixGG. Team Queso really need to pull themselves together because right now they're trying to split push a little bit, get another tower there in the Dragon lane. But despite the efforts, they're not really finding the footing in this one game. And look at them.
Clue is going in 1 versus 2. The cojones on Clue in this situation to be like, I'm popping the quickness, I'm running in. I know what that translation is. He's like, I'm popping the quickness, going in. Nobody's with him. Nobody's with Clue. And Clue deters a push 1 versus 2. RixGG, wow, they have found their stride here.
Can't believe what you just did. But no, I mean, actually, for Clue, the thing is, as a Rakan, you could acquire an easy way of escaping. And if you think about it, it's like, you didn't have a wave. What are you going to do? You can take the tower. Are you going to really risk it to kill me, a Rakan? No.
One Dark Binding just eats a third of Andre's health. Andre has to back away. Baron's up in 16 seconds. I don't think RixGG will rush it down right now, but look, top tower is low health. They have the room to kind of bait around the jungle as well, as Queso are struggling to re-arrest control. And I think part of the problem is, outside of Methanol, there's not too many ways of getting a fight started, and Methanol has to throw his entire body, and there's a lot of it on Gragas, to try and get a fight. Clue's going to throw a lot through the jungle and pop the quickness. Nothing else burned from RixGG from that situation, though. That is a big cooldown, though. I don't want to discount how much the quickness is a key part of RixGG's team fighting. Oh, Snitch!
Okay.
I mean, come on. If that hits, he half healths both carries of Queso and basically wins a team fight immediately. Queso were able to get away from it just in the nick of time, but still, Snitch. That's a short cooldown. It's coming back up soon.
Both Andres and Snitch are going in different directions there to get up to this tower, but want to attack it, want to defend it. And in the meantime, Team Queso focusing here on the top lane and mid lane there. Just being very careful of taking advantage of RixGG, going back to base. Maybe it allows you to get a little more, like, you know, a little bit more skill ability here in order to be able to control the Varren properly. But I just think Team Queso had to play really carefully right now to do the game.
Queso have to play very carefully because Doom will punish them a lot in these fights if they don't. Same with Snitch, same with, like, even Random has a lot of damage, Seven has a lot of damage on top of it as well. I think if Queso don't convincingly fight this next fight, I think RixGG will be in full control of 2-1ing this series. I mean, I haven't looked at the gold in a couple of minutes, and I'm saying that thinking that Queso are actually in a stronger position than they are, because RixGG have a massive gold lead on this game. RixGG are in more control than I thought, and Clue, quickness pop, backs away. Veos is going to be able to get away. Joey packages out. Valkyrie's back in.
Whoa.
Veos, that's a big pick onto Doom. That is huge from that situation. Random's going in. Random wants the kills. Can he find them, though? Is RixGG trying to 2-1 this series? I think they've overstayed. That's a massive shockwave sent all the way through from Snitch. The low health bars will get tidied up for a moment. 2 kills in favor of RixGG. 3 kills in favor of Queso. Queso hang on for just a moment, and they're going to try and take themselves an Infernal Drake.
Queso has 4 towers less than RixGG does, but this could be the chance to finally open some more lines. If you take a look at this team fight once again, Veus is the one starting this action on top of Random. He's going to go down quite quickly. No, not Random, sorry. Random is in the back with Aurelia, and there is when we're going to be seeing this action once again. Divangu's Edge hitting all the right spots, but you can never discard the abilities that this champion have. Joey and Andres set, and of course Gragas setting it all up for a advantage.
Oh, Snitch. If that shockwave didn't hit exactly like that, I think RixGG are in a lot trickier situation than they would have been. Snitch taking out, like, basically 2 people's health bars in front of him. Spamming in the chat for Snitch. I'm sure his chat are going crazy off that play, but it wasn't enough to win the team fight for RixGG. They still came out behind from that fight specifically. Their lead, however, has bought them the ability to take this Infernal Drake. We're into another fight, though, and that's a stasis. This time it's Snitch that's being caught, doesn't quite find the damage they need, and Clue is getting routed back away from this fight. Is Doom still alive? He's about a third of his health. He's going to rocket jump forward. Look at the damage ticking down, though. They're chasing through the Singed Poison, and it's ticking the Mix Swirl, but it's RixGG Swirl as Random is going to shut out Queso.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so how did this even happen? They were going for the dragon, then they stopped doing so because Team Queso decided to initiate a team fight. And then things were a little 50-50. They had to retreat quickly for RixGG. And now with this team fight, this is opening just a tower for Random, perhaps even more. Oh my gosh.
Random's going to just stick it and try and get the kill and take the turret, and he's going to get neither. As the stage... Random! Come on! Andre misreads the play, and Random takes everything!
Wow. What is this game? Feel like 17 minutes, so much action. More than 30 kills going on. What is this? This has been crazy.
This is the Random show. This is the Random we were promised coming in. And to be honest, this has not been the best game from Random. This has not been the best day of his games. But in the clutch, in the pocket, Random has shown up in multiple times today. And that's one of the reasons why the players have so much respect for this guy, is you can never count him out.
Oui.
See?
That was a joke because Random is French, and I was just thinking, don't know what I was thinking. I was so confused and dazzled after what we just saw. They're gonna take the Varns way too easily, and now we might see Team Queso trying to respond to this somehow, just trying to stop RixGG from, going on. Oh no, Veus.
Yeah, Veos. He's got himself the Rylai, so he's really hard to lock down, and RixGG would be foolish to chase through this. We saw the damage that the poison can deal when you're chasing a Singed. Don't chase Singed is rule number 1 of any League of Legends game, and Queso, they're chasing a 1 and 2 series at this point. They need one team fight to go their way, and I feel like it's going to come from Joey. I feel like he started this game with the 3 kills. He started the game in the best way possible, but RixGG have been in control basically from that moment onwards. There have been a few team fights that have gone a little bit more towards Queso. But if they have any chance of coming back in this series, Joey needs to carry this next team fight huge. But I think RixGG may be too far ahead. Random is going to throw out the beginning of that stun. The binding is going to land on the top side. And look at that explosion on the turret as the inhibitor is going to fall.
Good white tower, you did your job. It was a good job, but it's done now. They're rotating that towards the dragon lane. That first tower that is gonna be less than half health. He's trying to cut some here, but that might be the actual.
Oh, that explosive cask is huge though, and Doom is half health. He stasis down, flashed away, shield comes on, and is this the time for Queso to turn it back around? Veus is gonna try and get one. He puts damage down, and Doom gets swatted out of the air by Andre. It's 1 kill in favor of RixGG. It's 2 with Andre falling. I think that's probably enough to hold on for now. But my god, Queso are going to make RixGG fight for it. It's all down to a last-ditch defense of the Nexus. All of the inhibitors are down, and RixGG have to reset. They bought teleports, but that was about as good as an engage as Methanaut could scratch together from that, and it was everything RixGG were fearing.
That's the problem when you're going against the Gragas and you group up together, because that just setting you up. It's like grouping out together when you've got no Orion in front of you. You know that the shockwave is always gonna splash you and separate you and complicate things further. So now it's Team Queso's chance to redeem themselves.
Andre's still dead. He's bought himself the TP, 7,000 health on this
no,
dragon. Clue's going to take the engage. They're going to try and split this, and that's Methanaut drop down. Andre's going to try and steal it from the back door. Andre is desperately trying to get the dragon, and I think he got it. It's stolen. Andre's going to try and back away. The minions, the observers need to go to the Nexus, because I think the minions are just going to end this game. Doom is going to rocket jump into the base, and despite the Elder Steel, RixGG 2-1 their way through as Seed 1 from Group A.
Wow, what a game, Esports. I mean, I'm glad that we were saying 2-1 because I think we've seen the best of Team Queso and the best of RixGG and the worst of both of them as well.
Yeah, we saw both. We saw everything. That was as close as a game as it's gonna get between these two. RixGG 2-0 on series, but that was close.
That was so close, which leaves you up to think what will happen now, because Team Queso comes from a lose and they have to face NAS now, and I'm afraid that this might be dangerous for them.
Yeah, I think Queso need to regroup very quickly off that. And honestly, I actually feel like Queso need to throw this series out of their minds and go back to how they were playing before. And just say, put Andre on a carry and just let Andre carry, because we know it works against teams that are not at the caliber of RixGG and Game Lord. We know that's the playstyle that Queso can default to. But RixGG knew how to play against it, and even still, Queso took him to the limit.
I didn't want to see the Lucian on Acolyte ever again. No.
I don't know that it was that bad. I actually think RixGG played quite well around it.
I just didn't enjoy the champion within the composition, and if we're going to keep on following with the Andres-focused compositions, I don't think Lucian is the best choice here.
You know, one thing that I actually quite liked from this series, I want to switch focus and talk about the positives of RixGG. I think Clue looked great. I'm not going to have the time to talk about this because we're going to head over to the analyst desk, who I'm sure will talk at some point about Clue and his support play in this series.
What a crazy series that we just had in here, Stuart. Andres took the Drake, but at what cost?
Andre took the Drake in the end, but the rest of his team was dead. And then they already had 3 inhibitor towers down. That means that the super minions were pushing into the base. That means that, I mean, to be honest, even if Team Queso won that team fight, the minions probably could have won the game anyway. But what an incredible series, and I think it went above expectations.
The breaker, the fact is that Andres was on the verge of being that carry that Team Queso needed. But now, you got to play 3 games so close versus RixGG, and you have to face Nasser right now. How is your mindset? I mean,
knowing Team Queso, I think they can bounce back from this series. And it's actually, it was such a tight match, and they gave it everything, and they came so close to beating RixGG as well. Like, this was such an amazing series, and the last match was absolutely amazing, going to like 20 minutes in total. And I just want to say, prediction was correct, 2-1.
Mine too.
All of our predictions, actually.
You were all
pulling
correct.
it off, and I'm really excited to see what Team Queso is going to do against Nestor right now. Like, who's going to qualify?
Yeah, because that's the question actually. Now is swim or die for Team Queso, because they are, well, they need to win NASA to qualify. NASA needs to win Team Queso to qualify as well. It's going to be a best of 2 series to see who out of these 2 teams is going to be the second team out of the group. Hells, I had the feeling that this game was like bouncing all the time. Advantage for Team Queso family. RixGG takes a fight and it's advantage for RixGG. We saw a massive play from Random under the inhibitor turret.
I mean, this is the random we know. Like, this is the random we know. In the second game, we saw him on the Nasus, which unfortunately didn't work too well for him. But when you put him on these mechanical champions like the Aurelia, you know, wow, he just carries the game himself. We see a lot of Baron laners pick up tanks, but Random has none of that. He just picks the Aurelia and carries himself. And I want to talk about Team Queso as well here, because it felt like they were kind of evolving through the series. In the beginning, it didn't feel like Team Queso to me. It felt like, I don't know, they were just doing something, hoping that Anders would carry. But then in game 2, we saw Joey pop off. And in game 3, we saw all of them pop off. Even though they lost the 3rd game, I still think they did a really amazing job in this series, Noah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 2 teams ultra strong. This was the level of WREC we were expecting when we came into the series. Now we know RixGG is going to be the first team out of this group. It was all about the flexibility. We got a lot of flex coming in here. The Morgana, the Aurelia, the Gragas as well. And it actually felt like it worked into the Rakan, into Clue's Rakan that won once again, and from the red side.
Yeah, red side again. Actually, you can see the builds and everything, and the damage numbers on your stream now. Yeah, Joey as well, even 8-4 and 7. I mean, as Hel's mentioned in the second game as well, Joey
Massive
did so well.
Joey.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge packages from Joey, and I'm interested to actually see the damage numbers. I know Darbrek wants to see it, and wow, look at Joey's damage, like random damage. But like Joey as well, even in the second game, Joey did so much damage, and even though throughout the whole game you could see that RixGG had the goal leads, it just still felt like Team Queso had opportunities to win these fights, but these fights were just down to the wire, really.
Like, even 8K behind, it felt like the teammates were so close, and we are watching the replays right now a bit to feel once again how close this last game was. We were talking about Random, 1v2, taking a kill, the massive play under the inhibitor turret, and I want to get to talk about how that breaker, RixGG, get to play this series, because they got everything when it comes to neutral objectives.
Yeah, I think the main reason why they did so well is especially because of the Orianna and Morgana. Like, Morgana's binds in those team fights, especially on that Corki, almost one-shotting with just bind and second ability. C7 almost one-shotted Corki, catching him multiple times in those team fights. And I think Corki was so ahead in the early game without those binds to catch people, to catch the hyper carry basically.
Yes.
I think Team Queso would have done way better on those team fights, considering they were behind in gold and they still put up such a strong fight. And obviously, Snitch on that Orianna, consistent damage over and over with a Morgana together. Damage numbers, Morgana second most or even most damage. And then Orianna with those shockwaves as well in those team fights, doing so much work.
Tremendous work, definitely. Massive shockwaves we've seen from the side of this arena. But Health, I wanted to talk about Peak that maybe you're, bringing it in the next Broken as Health, because we get to talk about Singed. Yeah, third game in a row from Singed. I mean, it felt like Team Queso was living through this Singed in the last team fights.
And it's Singed mid lane as well, right? Like, before this, you would kind of expect Singed to go in the Baron lane, but we've been talking to the players, and they were talking about Singed being a really solid mid lane champion, because Singed in the late game is insanely powerful, but the biggest problem that Singed really has is getting through that early game against those Baron laners. But in the mid lane, it's different. It's a bit easier. You can push out those waves, survive the lane, and get to that late game and do a lot of damage. And Vegos on the Singed as well in that game. He did an incredible job, right? Like, he slowed everyone. He did an incredible job, but it was just not quite enough.
It was not quite enough, even though they were extremely close.
Really close.
Yeah. It was really close, guys. Let's get to see the play of the game in this last third game. It was the first third game in all the days to it, and I mean, it was worth. I mean, it was high quality. All these plays. Yes. I mean, we yelled the hell out in the backstage when we get to see this. I mean,
we were all just going absolutely crazy. I mean, the Divine Sunder healing, I think, had definitely helped him a lot with the Blade of Rune King as well. Even though he died in the end, he did his job. And he actually kind of, I mean, as Darbrek just said, like, he didn't even hit the third ability as well. He still dived in. It was very risky because Karzik still gets that isolated damage. But he was still able to heal enough. He was able to get the 1v1 solo kill, get that inhibitor tower, and that allowed RixGG to, put pressure on the rest of the map as well.
Like, we've seen today that Breaker run them in everything, like in more of a, frontline picks, such as the Renegan, for example. We've seen it in Van, we've seen it in this Aurelia. So it feels like, Random is, I mean, inside the flexibility of RixGG, Random is popping off as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I said it right in the beginning that Rick's strength is the champion pool, not only Random. I mean, Random is obviously for 1 year consistently one of the best Baron laners. He has a deep champion pool, so it's really hard to ban him out. And as you guys saw in the series, he played the Shen at a weak side tank and still popped off. The Nessus, I think it's just a pick, but at least he tried it out, so now he knows, okay, we're not the biggest anymore. But,
hey, let us still hope. Maybe
he's gonna surprise us with some other picks, but definitely the Aurelia. Like
and the Vayne as well,
Vayne as well, like so many different variations, and that's definitely the strength of RixGG. They have so many team comps that can try out so many strategies, and I think we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg, to be honest. Like, this is just the group phase, and semifinals and finals. Hopefully, if they're making it to the, but
Yes.
I'm kind of expecting it's gonna be even better.
Yeah.
It's going to be absolutely crazy. And we're talking about random, but Acolyte also popped off today in this,
Yeah,
in this
Acolyte on that
series.
Renekton was crazy.
Yeah, definitely. But Hells, it feels like this last Lucian flopped a bit.
Like I always talk about Acolyte being one of my favorite Baron laners. I just feel this was a thing that just didn't work, right? Like just like random, you know, him failing on that Nasus doesn't take away from how good he is. It was a nice try, you know, the idea was good, but it just didn't work.
Yes, it felt like he had no damage at all. And when you want a solution and also playing in a solo lane, you expect him to be like ultra destroying everyone so early in the game, and we get to see that something was going wrong in the first Herald fight.
It was really interesting. I mean, even the build as well was very interesting. Went for
Hullbreaker.
Hullbreaker, first item, then went into Stormrazor and then Mortar Reminder as well. I think that was a very high skill matchup in the Baron lane, because if Lucian can dodge Irelia's third ability, then I definitely feel like Acolyte can come out on top, but he just didn't get really the advantage that you need, because Lucian's a really strong early game champion. If you can get that advantage against an Irelia as well, you could definitely do very well, but because he didn't get that advantage, Irelia on random, just jumping onto the back of team fights, and as you mentioned, you know, done so well in this entire series.
So your point toward this is that Irelia is just too broken.
Basically, yeah. I mean, broken, a really flex pick. I mean,
Yes.
we've seen her mid lane with Don.
Yes.
We've seen her in the jungle. We've now seen her in the Baron lane as well. Wouldn't be surprised if it even gets played in the duo lane, maybe with Senna as well. It could also be a possibility as well. But yeah, I think that's a great thing about, I like Wild Rifts in general. There's just so many flex picks, and the draft is just so interesting to see where the coaches and where the players want to play certain champions.
Now the point is, Team Queso versus NASA is going to be the next series, because we didn't get to finish yet for today, guys. We have to know who's going to be the second team out of this group. And what do you think that's going to happen there, Breaker? It's going to be like Team Queso super tired after 3 games, or they online, like, this has been the warm-up.
Now they're even more motivated to make it. Like, they showed themselves being a pretty strong team, contesting against RixGG, even making it a really tight series. And from what I've seen, I think Team Queso is doing probably going to do an amazing job against Nasra as well. So my expectations are that they are probably going to win it, and we will see it.
Well, so Health, what do you think about the next series? What do you think that's going to happen?
I think the same as well. I think especially Team Queso really wants to beat RixGG now, right? Like they saw, hey, we can do it. As you said, like the first game was a flop. The next games, they could indeed win it, they saw. And I feel they just really want to get to RixGG again. So I feel they're going to smash Nasr here, but Nasr also wants to redeem themselves, right? Like they lost, and they're like, okay, we can still make it if we beat Team Queso.
It's going to be one hell of a series, guys. But before we're going to get to Rio that is ready with another interview.
Do you hear anything?
Yes.
Hello, I am here with Clue, the MVP of the series. And Clue, you played 4 games of Rakan today. What do you think makes this champion so strong?
I mean, I think that he's strong just because he can engage and disengage at the same time. And his damage are disgusting.
You think the damage is disgusting? Okay. Well, you were voted the MVP of this match today because you were roaming around the map so much. Why do you think supports are roaming so much instead of sticking to the lane in the 2v2?
I mean, I think it depends of the draft. Because there is some dual lane draft where you can just try to storm the lane, like Nami or something like that. And Rakan can't really do much in lane, so it's a better option to run.
We have seen Karma being banned in every single game, and Karma is usually plays as a support champion. What do you think? What is the reason that we have never seen Karma so far?
Because she's broken, dealing so much damage, CC, shield, and too many shield even.
Well, thank you from the MVP Clue of today, and yeah, heading back to you guys at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Rio. Thank you very much, Clue. Yeah, I get it. Karma is so broken. And yeah, Clue was everywhere. And that was the key point for RixGG victory. Not only versus Team Queso, but also versus NASA in the second best of 3 that we had today. That's the fact. It's like having impact in the whole map.
I mean, they even had to ban Rakan in that second game as well. They left it open in that third game.
Yes.
And you can see as soon as they left it open, Clue just took it straight away.
Yes,
He knows
definitely.
that because Karma gets banned, most of the time Yuumi gets banned as well. I feel like Rakan is normally the third best support pick as well. As Clue said, engage, disengage, does a lot of damage as well, is great at roaming around the map. And when you can roam around the map as a support, and if you can help champions and players
Yes.
like Random as well in the Baron lane, which we've seen a lot as well, that really gives them that extra edge.
And Doug, the fact is that Queso had a plan to try to stop the Draken with the Gragas. It's supposed to work, you know? Draken engages, you go with the body slam, and it seemed to work, but Gragas wasn't ever work, and Draken it did.
Yeah, I mean, it did work a few times, but in the end, it's not only the Rakan that... I feel like it wasn't necessarily the Rakan that won those team fights. Like I said, the bindings from Morgana, and like, they had so many ways to win those team fights, not necessarily only by the Rakan. Obviously, Gragas is good at disengaging, but at the same time, they have the I just keep repeating myself with the Morgana binds, but I saw 2 times a Morgana bind on that Corki, and he was out of the team fight, and they just won the team fight thanks to this. So even if you try to counter someone from RixGG, there's someone else who's gonna step up and who's gonna win those team fights for them.
Yeah, definitely. We're watching the replays in here where, you know, RixGG struggled versus Team Queso in this last game. Team Queso struggled versus RixGG in this very same game. Like, it felt like it could have gone both ways, but in the end, I mean, the bindings were crazy, as you were talking about. That breaker, we saw Random absolutely
Look at that
smashing.
flash engage by Gragas as well.
Yes. Is absolutely crazy. And the red side, the Hells, it's like, seems to be like super broken. They were blessed by the red side.
I believe still.
All victories from the red side.
Every game still, right? From red side has been won up until now.
100%
Every single
win rate.
game has been won by the red side. And even Team Queso won against RixGG with the red side, which I find very interesting because obviously as the blue side, you'll get the first pick. But red side is just winning every single game. And I'm honestly not even quite sure why. Because you'll get 2 power picks. Maybe it's just because there's so many good picks right now that if you can get 2 of them on the red side, it's better than getting the 1 good pick on the blue side.
I mean, tell me.
No, I was going to say as well, like, I think the interesting thing as well is, like, when you lose the game, you get to pick what side you're on as well. And it seems like teams are also prioritizing that red side as well. The red side is not only to do with, like, just like a flip or anything like that. It's also to do with teams actually realizing that red side is so strong at the moment because of what we obviously said before.
And also what I like about the red side is like you get to draft in your own terms, in your own conditions. You hold the flex picks to the last minute, and that is so important. You force the blue side to blind pick, maybe go into uncomfortable matchups. Even though I think Team Queso actually was very wise at their blind picks in this game. In the end, I don't think it is, if it was draft difference, if it was the blessing of the red side or what it was, but RixGG in the end was the best team. Now, as we were talking about before, it's all about Team Queso versus Nasser. But how do you feel these teams? And I'm going to ask you the breaker now. How do you feel these teams into potentially the matchups versus the Group B teams?
That's actually interesting. I feel like Team Queso and RixGG are obviously 2 power teams that can do really well against Group B team. Gamelord, obviously, the #1 seed team coming into this tournament. I'm really excited to see maybe a RixGG Gamelord match or even Team Queso versus Gamelord. Like in my opinion, so far, Nashville doesn't look as strong, so I'm not sure if they're gonna make it able to qualify, but I think they are better than Parla. And between FG and Nashville is kind of hard to tell, but FG looking really good today. So obviously, let's see what's gonna happen in this next match, and then we can see who's gonna qualify from the Group A.
Yeah, that's actually true, guys. We're gonna check on the Coca-Cola pop-off of this last game. We got plenty of those. We got plenty of players popping off, champions popping off. we had, you know, the play of the game, Hells, was like the random play in the inhibitor turret, and this is the 1v2.
Of course it's random. I mean, who else would it be? You could have take a look at him right there. He knows it as well. He knows it as well. He knows exactly what he's doing. And there, this is what I mean. You could have taken multiple plays, which is exactly what happened here. And I mean, this one is just beautiful. I mean, let's just look at it. He's at 1 HP. Andres doesn't want him to get away. And he just gets killed.
Ah, he missed the second ability.
Yeah. I think if Andreas timed the second ability with the stasis, then he didn't have enough time to actually push onto Kha'Zix as well. But I mean, you can see Random's face as well. He's feeling confident.
He was like, okay, did pretty well. Okay, we're feeling. Okay. I accept this play. It was like the vibe that it was given to us. But Random is just on the next step of the tournament, all about Team Queso versus Nasser right now. I mean, it's gonna be one hell of a series. Like, I feel like we didn't get to select the actual Nasser coming into a tournament.
Yeah, I think coming into the tournament, I feel like Nasser are definitely this aggressive team coming from Turkey as well. But again, I think, as we mentioned a little bit on our cast earlier as well, is that Nasser are playing against a lot stronger opponents, no disrespect to the Turkish teams, but a lot stronger opponents than what they did in Turkey as well. So they're giving them a little bit more respect. But coming into this, you know, Nasser have had time to prepare now against Team Queso. Team Queso just had a absolute bloodbath of a best-of-3 series, you know, back and forth all the time. It was an absolutely crazy best-of-3. But now Team Queso, they have to mental reset. They have to think about the next game. Now they don't have a lot. They don't have a lot of time as well. And then you got Nasser versus Team Queso, and the winner of that is going to be the second seed going into the semi-finals.
You heard Stuart. Nasser versus Team Queso, and the winner is going to be the second team out of this Group A. But guys, that's going to be after a short pause, and we'll be coming with that incredible best-of-3.